under no circumstances. Let me know when you're ready, Brother Greg.
Oh, dude, say it. You gonna explain why on that Hebrew?
Oh yeah, you're gonna see it in a minute.
Okay.
Those of you who, on a short notice without a flyer, were willing to come down this evening to the Georgia Avenue Cafe to spend a little time with Brother Cokely. I suggest to each and every one of you that this is an offering or an option to our people that is uniquely different than other options that have been presented, and that the temperament and the tempo of the option is based strategically upon the attitude and the aggression of the enemy. It has always been a primary focus of mine to center on a particular white secret society, and our dialogue about blacks, the Boule, other secret societies. Okay. And that the temperament and the tone of the dialogue is based again upon the enemy, and the primary focus is that circle within a circle secret society, and that those Africans, Negroes, traitors, betrayers, that get stigmatized and pressured in the process are based upon their proximity and relationship with the enemy. Many of you, and the only place I announced the program at was at the Can I Color Holding Your Fence lecture at Bernie Bacchus. I think those of you who were at that lecture noticed a different tone and temperament in my attitude about dealing with bullshit from black people, again in the climate of the aggression of white people. I, having studied for 15 to 20 years the enemy, have fraternized and associated with all elements of our response community, have decided that it was no longer time to wait upon certain things to materialize or to put expectations upon other things, irregardless of the glossy nature of their perceptions in the public, that we were a community with a shallow attack on the white people, and that shallow attack was going to get difficult to defeat as time got later. So as I did when we were at Bernie Bacchus, as I did in Chicago, as I did 3 weekends ago in Dallas, as I did 4 weekends ago in New Orleans, as I did 5 weekends ago in LA and Oakland, I've signed up the Africans. Because in the past, and if you listen to the tapes carefully, I specifically said, I've never asked you to follow me anywhere. Now, I've never asked to take you anywhere and choose not for you to play me up or to play into me or to idolize what I do, that this particular mission and our responsibilities were not for everybody, and that what we hope to assemble and add to our community was a hardcore, no-nonsense operation. As I've gone all over the country, we have always asked those questions about what was our #1 black power organization, who are our black futurists, what is it that's working absolutely in our behalf, and we're vague. We're vague on who is the enemy. No problem about any of that, but we're just going to have to supplement it on a more aggressive avenue. So we've turned up the tempo. I will tell you at approximately 8:30. It is 8 o'clock now. There are a few other people that I know are going to be here that I want to be in the room when I explain what happened in Chicago Sunday morning. If you were in Bernie Bacchus, you would understand it, because you could attest to the temperament and the tone, harassing back at the enemy. I also mentioned, as you heard me play, I don't usually play no music at no program, but I mentioned in Bernie Bacchus that we got a call from Neverland. And that it may be, as I've told you time and time again, if only one of them stood up and said they back up this revolution, the revolution without bank that never took a step backwards. And that maybe somebody that come up out of the woodwork, an unlikely character, someone who in fact we've talked about in the past, who, unbeknownst to me, was getting access to the information and made a decision that what it was that we had to offer in a community of begging to drop the money down. The money is only symbolic of the ability to do things. We have accomplished great things with no money. I went through with Bernie Backus a series of sayings and themes that we portrayed in the community, different strategies and suggestions that we made that have no peer. So it's time to manifest. And the manifestation is meeting the destiny of the enemy head on. And in a weird and unusual way, things are shaping up beyond my conception. I have turned to my loyalist friends and asked for more support. I've been more specific and more demanding about the things that I want because I understand time is of the essence. We are about to be on the verge of a so-called million-man march. Having spent some time in Chicago and listened to what has come out of some of the meetings, including the sighting of Fred Thomas at Minister Farrakhan's house, your police chief, we are especially assured that we're not going to front no million-man march, but that we want it and a million men to be here. And when they get here, we want to impress upon them even greater demands, even keener insights on the enemy. I don't know who of you were around then, and Greg, probably not you, you're the oldest one around, how when they had the big oil demonstrations after the Persian Gulf War, how we put people on alternate corners with our own chance about fucking Rockefeller and our own chances about busting at the enemy, and made the people pick up on our meetings. And they did right on the spot. So there's thousands of people that are going to be here. There's many activities that are going to go on from October all the way through so-called Christmas season, because Washington will never be the same after the Million-Man March. I'm telling you right now, Washington will never be the same. Some things will be beyond anybody's control. Just going to be the moment. So we look forward to the heightening of the clarity of the war between the haves and the have-nots. Again, I'm pleased that you all chose to come. I want to share some things with you in a systematic way. I highly recommend, for those of you who are unfamiliar with it, yeah, you all want to make the switch up. That kind of cut a hole in your fence. Excuse me, sir. That the Can I Cut a Hole in Your Fence lecture is a classic and one you would want to keep and have access to. The trip to Los Angeles was heightened by my interaction with Malana Karinga. As my man, Brother Jamal, told me, that program, so you all saw Brother Jamal at the Bernie Backus lecture. In fact, he brought a very good piece even about the rabbi and the sexual deviation and how it was a part of the religious beliefs that it was okay to have sexual deviation for children. And we spent a lot of time when we were in Los Angeles trying to repair some divisive splits that were in the LA community. And I highly recommend any of you to get access to this Wall Street Journal article dated July 26th of 68. West Coast militant talks tough but helps avert racial trouble. This is a front page story in the Wall Street Journal on Malana Karinga. A West Coast militant talks tough but helps avert racial trouble. Karinga of Los Angeles seen using fear of violence to build political power. A meeting with Governor Reagan. And it has some insightful insights into people in the past who have opposite profiles 30 years later in the present. Part of our inability to materialize against the enemy has been our inability to keep score, to keep up with the players, to come with the accumulation of one's behavior as a way of making judgment about who is deserving of support of black people. Also within that particular program on counterinsurgency, that lecture is a dialogue about Eleanor Holmes North. who was politically sponsored by Nelson Rockefeller, the governor of New York, that had the Human Relations Commission in New York during the 60s. And one of her proudest activities was the establishment of a rumor control network, which is what most of the Human Relations Commissions do. We also look carefully at the Chicago Commission on Human Relations, its role and relationship in monitoring activity in Chicago through this man named Clarence Woods, who came in as Vice President of the Urban League from New York into Chicago to become a $200,000 a year head of the Chicago Commission on Human Relations, even though the mayor only makes $180,000. To quell potential racial tension is one of the highest responsibilities a government worker can have. The delivery of a government program, the effectiveness in dealing with children, welfare, housing, as you have seen, has not been unimportant as long as the community is kept under control. So no longer are we allowing the control agents to receive a pass or to be allowed to falsely be portrayed in the public. We're going to crack down on the black community. It's a lazy community that has few values. And it's not a condemnation of us, for we go to church more than any other race of people in the country. And as Brother Jamal showed, you saw the head of the Southern Baptist Convention stand up there and ask for forgiveness for being racist. But on the other hand, a black man jumps up out, look like the only nigga in the audience. He jumps up on the stage and waves his hand and absolves white people all their illegal activity. Forgives them on behalf of the black race, and we looking for that nigga. Because we want to put that nigga on question and tell him he don't have a right to forgive them humpies. No more then. I said it in Bertie Baptist, I said it in Chicago, and I'll say it again. No more then. The Hebrew Israelite community has the right to forgive the white racist community of Israel, who they've agreed to accept citizenship from, having renounced being the chosen people. And that they don't have a right, as a faction of our community, on behalf of all of our community, to give that devil some psychological edge that he can operate in the public as the chosen people, right, for 3,000 people to get citizenship with the devil.
That's right.
And I'm going to, a little later on in the lecture, so that you be well informed when I explain to you about the attack on me and my family in Chicago, about areas of tension in the lecture that I relay in the public, so that you would know exactly where, if on behalf of white people an attack will come, and you need to, as you agree to stand around here, to stand up to be with me, sign up to be with me, to understand that the circumstances for such support will receive a greater retribution. So if you decide to come forth, let it be that you made up your mind, that you even be willing to attack for it, because as one of the few legs of defense on behalf of the black people against the enemy, attack is one of the enemy's strategies. They are running out of options and holding down the Cokely operation. And because we advanced in spite of no ban, the enemy is up his ante. And as I mentioned to some of you all prior to the program today, 4 men in a 1979 Caprice shot bullets through the window of the limousine that was waiting to pick up me, my babies, my sister, and even my mother, who came down with us Sunday morning on our way to the airport to return to D.C. Sunday afternoon. Never, ever has Brother Cokely ever received a threatening phone call. Brother Cokely ain't never had nobody get in his face. Brother Cokely ain't never had anyone ever come up in front of him or near him to voice a level of aggression, because I'm not nonviolent. But tempo has increased. Something is in the air that if it don't move now, it may be too late to stop it. So something arose. People came forth, they used bullets. Luckily, and I'll tell you more details about it, luckily, the limousine driver, who the bullets went just past his head, as he watched his car sit with him for 40 minutes. He came an hour early. We had a 5:45 leave time. He came at 5, and he noticed that car out there stalking him all that time at 5 o'clock in the morning in front of my mother's apartment building. We're going to talk a little bit more about that during the lecture. But I only said it now to tell you, just as you're sitting here, or out in the street, or walking around, or involved in some activity, you've got to make up a decision that this become your lifestyle. And that you make a decision that as you come forth, you be willing to die for it. But that don't mean death is an option. It just means you have to understand the consequences of fighting the enemy that has killed their mama to take the continent. So the stakes are higher now. The demands will be greater, but the achievements will be substantially more advanced than in the past. So as we move on to the next phase of our little revolution, you be accessibly aware of the fact that the ante has been upped. And again, for those who grab Bernie back, that you can feel the brother up in the ante. Several things I wanted to mention to you. I was in New Orleans a couple of weekends ago, and I still have not received the film from our excursion throughout New Orleans. Anytime I go to a city, and I'm putting all these films together, I have about 26 different videotapes, Brother Buddy, that we need to sit down and edit, that I shot as I went to the various cities and shot artifacts and symbols and codes from the Masonic temples in LA, New Orleans, Detroit, Cincinnati. Every city I've been in, I've taken the local residents around their own city to look at the artifacts and the indicators of the evidence of the secret societies. And I'm about to relay back to you all of those videos, because you will be stunned by our little walk around the country decodifying information. We just went to New Orleans, and in New Orleans I asked on my previous trip back in November, New Orleans is an excessively Masonic town. Of course, you know the crescent and the star is its logo. And I asked the town that on my next trip we would make some moves, and we did. And I don't know how much I mentioned about it at Bernie Bacchus. But when we went into the Masonic Temple, the Grand Lodge of Louisiana, which is in downtown Louisiana, right across from Hotel Intercontinental, that entering the lobby on the directory were the notes of various lodge rooms of various segments of masonry, having lodge meeting rooms on the 5th floor, 7th floor, all the prime numbers, 3, 5, 7, 9, which are Masonic numbers. And that on each of those floors was a Knights of Templar room, was a York Rite Mason room, similar to the floors at the George Washington Masonic Memorial over in Alexandria, Virginia. And we took videotape in each of those rooms. Well, yesterday I received the photocopies from a good brother, an elder who went with us on our little tour of the Masonic temples. And I'm going to share those pictures with you this evening. And as I pass these around, you will notice I have mentioned to you that we've been looking for certain symbols. One of them is a triangle within a circle, which is pretty much what's on the dollar bill with the pyramid and all seeing eye inside of the Great Seal. Even the advertisement for Stargate had the pyramid in a circle. And we've been focusing on this symbol as representing something that's going to emerge from the whites as a code. Now, the Cecil Rhodes Secret Society is a circle within a circle. But the surrounding of evil is a junta of 3 or a triangle. Rockefeller's Trilateral Commission uses the 3 arrows merged together to make a triangle as its logo, and that's not arbitrary. That's not arbitrary. So we're coding in on certain symbols that I want you to be aware of. But as we were in New Orleans, how many of you all ever been to New Orleans? Some of these cities I'm going to put on tape. If you never go, you'll know where everything is at. And that will be my responsibility as one blessed with an opportunity to get to travel. There's a boulevard leading up to City Hall, and in that boulevard are a series of statues, all of them excessively, all of them are Latin, but they're also Masonic looking. This is on a statue giving honor to South America, and I'm going to pass these around so you can thumb them. This is honoring Benito Juarez, who you see on this statue here is the one over which the pyramid and triangle sit over. Now, I'm going to pass these around so you'll see them. That's Benito Juarez going around. This is the other side of that statue. Here, just down from that statue, is a pyramid sitting in a boulevard. This is a gift from Vietnam to the city of New Orleans, and they gave it in the form of a pyramid, sitting right in a boulevard just outside, a block and a half outside of City Hall in New Orleans. And buddy, I'll give you these so that you can shoot them into the camera, even at a closer ability, which is why I stepped up, so that you can get a better look at it. And here is a better look at that triangle given to the city of New Orleans from, I believe, the Vietnam community. Yeah, take it so you can pass it around. I brought these to show you. And as you can see, at the base of the pyramid given by them is a square, and the square is surrounded by a circle. It's not arbitrary that you would take a circular base, a square double base to put on a triangle or a pyramid. And this is looking at the bottom face of the piece itself. That's from the Grand Lodge itself. I'll show you those pictures in a second. I want to make sure there's nothing else in here that I would pass up prior to it. Okay, that didn't come out so well. One of the things that New Orleans has excessively a lot of is cemeteries. In New Orleans, they cannot bury you in the ground because New Orleans is below sea level. That's why I had that big flood. It's the water and the smell of swampy water is thorough over across New Orleans. It's a swamp town. And so they don't bury people in the ground in New Orleans. They bury them on top of the ground. Now, Dutch Morial, who was the Boulay mayor, whose son is now the mayor of New Orleans, we went to his grave site. And the sister said, you need to see the grave of Dutch Morial. And so, as I go to the grave of Dutch Morial, which you see here on this picture, which is sitting in what they call the St. Louis Cemetery. Next, Dutch Morial had his grave and his family grave put next to a woman who you may or may not know of, Madame McVeigh. Anybody ever heard of Madame McVeigh? Huh? What do you know about? Okay, you just back there talking. Madame McVeigh is the queen of voodoo. She is known as the mystery woman of New Orleans who has saved the town from certain catastrophes due to her foresight. And many of you might want to take some time when you get a chance and look her up. We're going to come back again to establish why it was that Dutch Morial wanted himself to be McVeigh. In fact, somewhere I have it down here. I'm gonna get it up for you in a second. If you just give me a second, I'll pass these around. This is at his grave site. And Karen, if you got something good in there, at a certain point, tell me what it is, and I'll show all of them. Now, courage. When I went and asked for the New Orleans community to come with me on a tour, this has happened in various cities. Any of you who've gone in the Masonic Temple with me know that if a door has a handle on it, I'm going to turn it. If the door opens, I'm going in it. Why do I do it? Because I believe we have a divine right to know that these clues and insights belong to us. We are reclaiming what is ours. And so we consider it a divine right to go forth. And we believe our right to go forth is protected and respected even by the enemy. Protected and respected even by the enemy who understands we can hurt ourselves, but it can't hurt us. It can try. It can try to scare us. And on the path to liberation, there is an attrition factor. As the 9 of us jumped in the van to go into the Masonic Temple, which on a Saturday was closed, there was a young black man looking about like Brother Robert sitting in the lobby on security. And we went into the lobby of the building. This is the Grand Lodge of Louisiana at 333, what's the name of the street? It'll come to me in a minute. This is the front of the Grand Lodge of Louisiana here. You'll see it in this picture, and you'll see the insides of the lodge, which is on this photo. In fact, there's a brother man's van. The car tire went flat when we got in front of the Masonic temple, and it actually worked to our advantage that it went flat because it allowed us to stay out front a little longer. And when brother man decided he was going to let us in a secret vault to get some of them forbidden books, that the car was stuck out front, aided and abetted us throwing these so-called white sacred books inside. You're going to see some of them in the vault because we took pictures in the vault. But in the process of going upstairs, we looked on the directory. This is the directory to the Masonic Lodge. When we looked on the directory, it said Egyptian room on the 3rd floor. I said, ooh, Egyptian room. We go up to the 3rd floor. This is the front of the Egyptian room. This is my man WC in New Orleans. If you ever down there, go to African Harvest Vegetarian Restaurant, African Harvest Vegetarian Restaurant, which is next to the Fairgrounds racetrack. And here we are standing in the front of the Egyptian room. Here's some of the symbols out of the Egyptian room, but when we get to the door is closed, the building is lights are out. I turn the handle of the door, and the door opens. Now, we got a guy at the elevator posted the whole elevator door open. As we were taking this elevator up, we slipped past brother man. He went to answer the phone. So we slipped past him and started up the elevator. One guy holds the elevator. One guy's in the hallway, and the rest of us are shooting down these. There's a hallway there, and an office here on every floor. This office here is an office on the even floors. It's a Masonic Lodge meeting room on the odd floors. So, when we go to the Egyptian room and I turn the handle of the door and the door opens, I look back at everybody and say, man, don't go in there, man. Don't go in there, man. I said, brother, the door opens. We going in. I go into the one room, it's another room. And it didn't quite open up. Then we opened up and there was a huge chamber room. Very cold. And this chamber room had musical instruments all in it. And there were about 8 white boys in the room. Rehearsing, they had leased the room from the Masonic Lodge and were rehearsing music. The white boy had turned it into a studio. And so, all of a sudden, the 8 white boys see 9 blacks walk into their room. The white boy comes to approach us, who turned out to be not a bad guy. And he says, why are you here? I said, well, we were intrigued that this is the Egyptian room. We said, look over there at the wall. There's a picture of a black man on the wall. In fact, you can see the white boys' music stuff sitting there. Let me pass this around. This is their music room, and you got to get these to the back of the room fast enough for the people to keep up with the dialogue. This is the directory in the front of the lodge, and you got to watch them in groups. We just got to do this the best we can. Soon I'm going to put these on overhead. But on the walls of the Egyptian room were pictures of black people. Now, this is the Grand Lodge of Louisiana. But this, in fact, this picture looks similar to one at the George Washington Masonic Temple. How you doing, Bobby? Something I can help you with? Sure, you're right. Come on in, Bobby. Oh, that's right. You're telling him. I'll tell you there's something I can do and thought something was wrong. Okay? And you can see pictures of black men on the wall. So we asked the white boy, hey, what's up with the pictures of the black people? He said, well, you know, the Egyptians at Kemet was black. He said, in fact, I came from Africa myself. I said, watch it now. He said, we're all Africans. He said, I do African music here. I do backgrounds for some of the songs, with my man Paul Simon. See, because they got a whole white network out there that are in these studios vibing on black music, doing, listen to Lion King. Listen to, what's this other movie they put the African music all in it? They got the, Pocahontas? I didn't see Pocahontas, so I don't know. Aladdin? What's the cartoon? No, not just cartoons, just these movies been having this African music. Even the dumb movie, what was that? What was that movie with Melody Griffin? Working Woman. So listen to the music in these things and hear the African music playing in it. Anyway, let me pass you the pictures of these black men who were on the walls. Now, as we look over in the corner, it says, and you can see these huge African motifs on the wall, just gigantic. Now, you all got to send yours that way. Each one of these pictures are similar. Now, when a picture come in, y'all got to lean in to look at it together. And this is, that's down the street. That's the local lodge. And so what we, and there's another picture of the Egyptian room. There's some more pictures. So the white boy said, well, you know what, why don't you come in the back? We got a Mayat room, and we go back there, and there's these huge African carved chairs, beautiful wood with African motifs carved all in it. And he says, man, you ought to help us save this studio. They want to turn this into a hotel. And I said, well, that's a whole nother dilemma, but we'd like to reclaim the room on behalf of our people. He said, well, you'll get no problem out of me. You can come here anytime you want and look and shoot pictures, anything. I want to share with you blacks. Yes.
Little children look like the children on Stargate.
So you're right, the braces. And so we left the Egyptian room. We were all excited. So we went to 5. That was the Knights of Templar room. We turned the handle on the door. Damn it if the door didn't open. Nobody's in these rooms. On the 5th floor, we go into the room. When you see the videotape, there's a 25-foot curtain. Looks like it's a draw curtain. A sister's there. She pulls the draw curtain, and what comes up is 7 skull and crossbones laid across a huge velvet curtain. And as we went up, we noticed each one of these floors had these huge curtains, which relayed or portrayed certain aspects of that particular lodge all the way up. Now, we go to the 7th floor. There's the York Rite floor. Those are the Mormons in the Masonry. Mormons are the York Rite Masons. They only go up to, I believe, the 7th or 8th degree. Because you know the farther up you get in the Masonry, the more you switch from the Bible to the Quran. Catholics prohibit escalation, and the Mormons inhibit escalation past the York Rite or Penny Mason, what they call Penny Masons. Now, I made a point of mentioning before that it's awfully symbolic that the Winter Olympics is going to Salt Lake City in the year 2002, because in the Mormon religious history, 2002 is the coming of their Christ. So the fact that Salt Lake City, the king of Mormon town, is going to host this Olympics only, and they said this is the last time they'd ever try for it, only was indicative of that they're coded in on the manifestation of their coming of their, what we know to be Antichrist. Of course, you know the Mormon temple out there is, as they go by also the code of the Latter-day Saints, it's got 6 gold point stars at the top of it. You go around that beltway. You all familiar with seeing that? Anybody ever taken a tour of that building? Anybody ever been in there? One day we need to go in there. And Sister Karen got a report for us. Her and her friend went up to the Trilateral Commission office and the ADL and other places that we as brothers went up there and couldn't get in. So I told you before about sometimes sisters being able to do something that brothers can't. And so we'd sister be able to help us understand that too. Now as we get up to a higher floor, each one of these floors have temples on it. When we get to the top floor, we open up this shutter, and in the shutter are a series of documents all just stored away. And I dived into this little chute and started opening up the documents, and they were the financial records of the Grand Lodge all the way back to 1920 or so. It looked like the lock was on it, but the lock wasn't locked. So when we pulled the lock, see, don't say, look, oh, it's locked. It is locked when you pull the lock and it doesn't open. So it looked like it was locked. We pulled it, it was open. We opened it up. We told you any door that opens is our door. Climbed in there. We put everything back where we found it, but we know what's there if we need it. So we get to one lodge where it sounds like we hear somebody inside, in the Knights Templar floor. And the young brother, we had a young brother with us that was about 17 years old, was running the camera. He did a pretty good job because when you see the film, you'll see the film was very good. But he got a little scared. And when we got to the lodge and everybody thought they heard something, he said, Brother Cokely, we're going to get arrested. I can't stay. I'll stop. He started literally breaking down. And I literally grabbed him and socked him a couple of times and woke him back up. Because on the line of battle was no moment to get weak. And he was in too deep to get out. And if he broke down, he'd get us all exposed. Like Harriet Tubman say, you're going north or you're dying. I'm telling y'all, the ante's up. The boy, a sister, an elder that was with us, took him to the side and said, look, young man, and she put something deep in his heart. And like, in 30 seconds, he come on to me, brother, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry, I broke down, brother, I'm in, let's go, I'm ready, I don't care. We go to jail, I don't care what it is, we're going. I'm trying to tell him, just because the police show up don't mean that we're going to jail. It means that we have to explain ourselves. And if we get caught for it, it's just lead and talking up to those who know what to say. So we went on. There was no one in the room that at least came out as we went through. When we opened up the door, some of the other brothers that were with us stuffed their pockets with things that were portable. We took a lot of portable things, manuals, ritual books, sign-in sheets. And you know we did it at the Boule convention. It's in our nature. And we returned it. When we took the Boule stuff, we gave it back. But we took it. And they knew that we took it. And this is something I tell you about knowing the difference between a revolution and some yip-yap. I told you again about intention plus capability equal threat. Anyway, so all of a sudden, the security brother downstairs is getting worried because he's looking at these elevators and the buzzers keep ringing downstairs that we're holding these elevators because we still had one at the door, one in the hallway, one at the door we entered, and then everybody else, the other 6, were in the room intelligence gathering. And let me see if there's another picture in there. No, okay. So the brother comes up the elevator with a policeman to find out what's going on these various floors. And so the elevator opens up with them. We jump in the elevator and go back down to the lobby. When we're in the lobby, brother man comes down the other elevator and he says, the building is closed, y'all. And we said, that's no problem. So we went outside to the van and the tire was flat. So I walked back inside and I pulled the chair up to brother man and said, damn brother, I ain't gonna kid you. I come here all the way from Washington, D.C. to come into this temple. And man, we really want to see what's up in there. We was rushing and running. I'll tell you honestly, we was in them rooms going up there. He said, man, I've been here for 4 years and I've been wanting somebody to want to know what's up in here. He said, I want y'all to go down in the basement. Down in the basement where the sacred books are. He said, I've been stealing these books for years. He said, I've been stealing these books for years and I take them home and my daddy won't read them, my cousins won't read them. I ain't never been able to interest anybody in what I've been taking. He said, finally some black people came. He said, man, wait till the policemen go. I'm going to take y'all upstairs and give y'all time to go in all the rooms. We looked back at each other and everybody went, ooh. Again, if you all remember, I told you when I had those brothers come down from New York. We went to the House of the Mother Supreme over here, and it was Saturday, and it was closed. And I had them brothers come all the way down. And George Washington in Virginia is open on Saturday. Jabbar, you ever been in there? We need to go one afternoon. We had to make a little trip in there. That when we went over there, it was closed and we peeked through the window and brother man was in there mopping. And this brother I always gave respect to. Every time I went in there, I gave this brother respect and spoke to him. So he came out that day and asked, what did we want? I said, my buddies come all the way from New York. We want to go around the temple. He said, ain't nobody here. Y'all come on in here and go on up there. This is the mop man. This is the downstairs 23-year-old security brother who works every other Saturday. And it only alludes to the fact that as a strategy, we have always underestimated the ability of little people to do big things, and how many of these people sit suffocated, willing and wanting to assist a liberation struggle that never showed up. It just never showed up. And that's why I say we are moving on push, because we're going to exercise the divine right that we have to call upon all of the lessons of life and integrate them in a response to the enemy. And he says, I want you all to come downstairs. He said, give me a minute, and I want y'all to get some boxes. Because y'all can take whatever y'all want. Okay. Watch the wall, Brother Jabari. Says a white guy just jumped the wall over there. We couldn't imagine what he's doing out here in the neighborhood. Y'all remember last time we was here, a white boy with no shoes, no shirt, and drawers on, trying to come in the lecture. He just drunk walking down Jordan. He just gonna up and walk in here. I told him, don't let him come in here because we'll bust his ass. So evidently, I don't know who this one is, but whatever. Anyway, these are the books that were down in the basement. He said, man, there's some real heavy stuff downstairs. He said, first let me take all y'all upstairs. So he let us go to every floor. He let us reshoot the floors with enough time to do it correctly. and then he took us down in the basement and let us take the boxes. Now I left, we had to clean the books because many of them had cobwebs on and a lot of other things. Books of Masonic, I took some stuff from 1850. All of the lodge notes of Illinois lodges were down there. Having been from Chicago, I took all of that. They had the big Mackey encyclopedias on Freemasonry, the whole 26 volumes of that. They had all kind of a signage. I mean, it was just loaded with stuff, and you will see, I don't know if you can see some of the names on the books. But we got our share, and the local community there was stunned by what had opened for us just because we asked. Just first because we went, then because we took, then we asked. And that was successful. And that only alludes to the fact that we aren't winning because we're not trying. Now, down the street from that temple is the lodge of... Bob, and I need to send these back to you so that you can set them on the table. And if you're at a certain point, I'll pause and you can lay them across the table. Somebody can lay them across the table for brother. And you can just shoot them when they come up. Get in the camera. Okay, yeah, somebody's going to have to just put it back there on, not yet. Just set it on the table. Set them out on the table. Stay down lower than the camera. Stay down lower than the camera. No, somebody's got to spread them out on the table for them. And no, don't you do it, Baba, because I'm moving around. Anyway, here is the Masonic Lodge, not the Grand, this is the local lodge of Louisiana. And what's key about it is you know that these lodges have double-headed eagles. I mentioned to you all before when I went there that in New Orleans, one of the eagles is black and the other eagle is white. And you can see here, up in the top is the double-headed eagle, and the double-headed eagle has the wings up. Now, the southern states of Masonry are wings down. Those are the southern states of wings down. The northern states are wings up. So we were intrigued by the fact that the Louisiana Lodge, at the top of the lodge, had wings up, but it had one black and one white eagle. I'd never seen a multicolored eagle before. And the street that the temple was on was Cordon Delet. Now, I asked the community last time I was there to find out who Cordon Delet was, and sure enough, if you ask, you shall receive. When I come back the next time, Sister comes up with an encyclopedia breakdown about how he was one of the key generals in the fight to take, Texas and Mexico and all those things were all Mexican. And then you had the whole French buying and selling of Louisiana and other things, that Cordon Delet was significant in the stealing of Louisiana for the whites. And so the Masonic temples were on his street. Across the street from the lodge in Louisiana was a building with Grecian sphinxes on it. When you look into this part of the walls, you'll see the Grecian sphinxes on the walls, which is guardian. So the building across the street from the lodge was the guardian of the building. This is the bottom of the picture. You have the picture with the lodge black and white eagle at the top. This is the bottom picture of the same lodge with the Scottish Rite logo and other things on it. And, these go back to the brother to lay on the table too. Those got the Egyptian room on it. And we are going to try to get in that lodge. That lodge was locked, gate closed. We yanked the locks, tried all the side doors. It was closed. Hermetically sealed, as they say. But we're going to go back. We're going to try again. Come on, Richmond, Virginia, over this way. Come on, Richmond. Back this way, Richmond. Come on, knucklehead. Knucklehead, Grand Robert. Come on. Okay. My buddy, Brother Takara, I get a lot of very nice letters from people. And the letters express the feeling. This is the brother who shot the picture, Brother Elder there, Brother Takara. He wrote a nice little letter, which I'll read to you, which I just had a second ago. But the letter just spoke of the spirit of rejuvenation, meaning that so often people feel so helpless in coming forth against whites that it was an honor to feel that he was a part of something unfolding and that he understood the privileges that we were laying claim to and why it was that we were able to decodify the Boule, why it was we were blessed with the opportunity to tell a whole nation, and the nation has resided and settled in. When I was in Chicago, I turned on the radio, and I had an interview with the youth, and this radio host had different youth from Chicago on, talk about things from the youth perspective. I didn't know none of the people on there, so the guy asked, what do you all see in the struggle? So one of us said, well, you know, it's got the boule, and we got the struggle, and he just broke the shit down in a way that literally tears came to my eyes to see how the youth have integrated the information to the point that they don't say the old things they said about the struggle, that their eyesight as the enemy is locked in on a different level. It's a different type of reaction. And I was very pleased to hear the youth who I didn't know. Even when I was in Chicago, another group of my buddies got together and formed the Frontline magazine. And you can see here, they got the pyramid and the All-Seeing Eye, and the subject is secret societies, and it says Boule, Bilderbergers, P2 Lodge, Obadiahs, the Knights of Malta. That the youth are doing things that the leadership wouldn't touch. And it's being done to compensate for the inability of the leadership to face the enemy square on and to quit coming up with these bullshit excuses about where it is we're going as a community and who it is we're going against. I'm going to pass this around. I'm going to start offering this magazine. I got about 10 magazines. The Liberator in Atlanta. There's a Knowledge Broker in LA. 10 Cokely-inspired magazines where people have come forth to compensate for absence of information. And I mentioned to you in the past that I'm disappointed in the black press because the black press has a tendency to do press releases instead of investigative work. And just by the way, it looks as if, what was that? Somebody called me and said in Business Week of Forbes, there's a full-page ad advertising Armstrong Williams' book. And I wish somebody would, on behalf of me, please ask the news dimensions to quit pushing that punk for money. At one day in your life, stand up and say, fuck the money. Armstrong, I'm not taking your trashy money to promote the garbage that divides the black community, and stand up and say, no. Because they turned my money down when I spoke against people who helped it. So they ought to have the decency to turn down trash when it's offered to them. I see even the one that's sitting out here in the hallway got that asshole on the cover again. Now, I announced in Chicago and I said in LA, I'm going to tell you, we're going to beat this boy. See, the reason he got the arrogance and the trash he keeps running is that won't nobody fuck with him. I mean, he comes on, you'll get in an argument with him, but you ain't put your hands on him. And then they ain't going to call the police. They ain't because they're going to be too afraid to call them. And ain't no police going to be able to stop the hell when the word go on them. That nigga's in an icebox and bet nobody touch him. So I'm suggesting to you that in the upping of the tempo, things going to get a little rough. And as long as I've had people who've been willing to offer the ability to do things, we're going to start exercising it. When I tell you about what happens in Chicago, you'll be proud when you see what happens when we catch those who came forth, because we're going to get them. And it ain't got nothing to do with no police. We got from bus drivers to mailmen to train supervisors anyway, I ain't going to we'll talk about that when we get to that part. But the point of it is that things are moving on to another level. And as far as Armstrong Williams goes, he needs one of his legs broken. It's just trash. And I don't know, everybody likes to do trash in D.C. This appears to be a good spot for trash. This is also some pictures. They had a Masonic funeral. They had a Masonic cemetery in New Orleans. And I forgot to pass those around. Those are some of the, everybody in there is a Mason. All of the headstones are heavily Masonic. And the keys to the destiny of New Orleans are laid around here. There it is. Let me put that in the camera. It's trash ass, buying his way, little tramp. Armstrong Williams buys a piece of a black newspaper, which takes his money, as he does negative things in our neighborhood.
Steve,
yes.
in July 3rd, I got on the air with Armstrong Williams before they tried to
scanned me, right? They said, "What's your name?" I tell you.
Now, what show? His show?
July 3rd, that night.
No, I mean on his show, his station,
right? Yeah, I was on the radio.
Okay, wait, something.
Yeah, the first thing they asked me was, "Are you on the right side with Armstrong?" I said, "You got it."
That's right, give some fake out shit.
So when I got in, then he goes, he started talking about celebrating 4th of July and breaking down the, why we shouldn't have flag burning. And I busted him real good, so I felt real good after that.
But did you tape it? Did you tape it?
No, but I'm sure that you
and you know Cokely 101 says.
I heard him real good on that.
But this is, Cokely 101 says that you can freeze frame these things. See, this is another thing. You have to freeze frame them. And all of you all heard me do Jesse Jackson. Those in Chicago heard me do the governor, the mayor, all kind of plots and ploys, because all of us should benefit from it. I know when I give a lecture, and if it's 30 of you in the room, I couldn't tell you how many thousands of you are in here with you who pick up them tapes as they go all over the country. All over the country. So I never underestimate who may be with me today and what I can do with something freeze-framed for tomorrow. And so, just as a straight, you have your tape player there next to the phone. You turn the sound down, you press the play and record, and you tape it while you're talking it. You don't know how it's going to come out. You may do 10 moves before you think you got one that's ready for the community. But it'd be incumbent to make a note of it so that we all can benefit from it. And again, since he's the guy that's in the way, we'll have to deal with that. I had mentioned when I was in New Orleans, Brother Takara, who shot those pictures, had the copy of Stargate, the book. And I had never seen the book like I used the Congo book. And I saw some interesting things in that. But he had the Stargate book. And in the back of the book, this is the back inside cover of the book, Brother Bruce, is the following dialogue. And I know you Comedics are aware of this. It says, the people of the village Nagada live in fear of their evil ruler Ra. And they welcome Daniel and O'Neill as gods. Them was the two hunkies. Let me repeat that. Hey, Baba, you see the camera there? Baba, down. Lower your humanity. Get out of the camera. Come on. Relax. So, Baba, when you get up and move, you need to come around. Because you lack the humanity to bend down. Ra lives and travels in a luxurious pyramid-shaped craft, a shattering contrast to the world in which he rules. And they got little pictures from the movie, giving you captions of the movie about what the movie is about. The people of the village Nagala live in fear of their evil ruler Ra, as they welcome Daniel and O'Neill, who is the white boy who decodes the seventh seal, and Kurt Russell, who's to blow it up when he gets to the bottom of it. Daniel and O'Neill are opposing sides of the Stargate program, but when they're not fighting each other, they realize they have a much bigger enemy to fight, Ra. Again, this went unopposed in our community, as we wonder why the Christians are aligning to kill the Kemet people. Again, I've demanded that those who are in the Kemet start standing up against this. I'm not a Kemet specialist. I've said it in every tape. But don't make me be no Kemet specialist. You got it? What's up, Baba Charles? Sharui has always obeyed the elders of Nagata. When Daniel teaches her the forbidden act of reading, she learns about her people and who they really are and where they come from. Enlightened, Sharui becomes one of the leaders of the rebellion against Ra. Anyway, I'll pass these around. I know you're all aware of this. Anyway, just some more of the garbage that floats in our community. A little sidebar I want to reiterate. I don't mean to change the subject, but this is the McVeigh. This is the McVeigh that we know of who would only give name, rank, and serial number. That's a picture of the McVeigh. This is McVeigh number 2. This is the guy who all of a sudden voiced remorse for the Oklahoma bombing. This is the guy who gives an exclusive to the Jewish magazine Newsweek, which is highly unlikely from a right-wing staunch military man. I'm telling you that this McVeigh is not this McVeigh. That these two people are two different men. How many of you all were aware about 2 weeks ago when this became an exclusive that didn't you see those pictures of that McVeigh all over the media? Smiling, teeth out, did you see it or didn't you? Did you no? Say no or yeah? Talk to me so I know if I gotta go in the magazine. Huh? It's all in you. Because if you don't see, here's a picture of the other McVeigh in the military and the McVeigh. This was only 2 years before the bombing. Match pictures up. But I think one of the key pictures of showing that this is a different McVeigh is also take these faces in that picture and put together. Tell me when you're ready. And I'll read the dates of these magazines into the record. Okay, I'll push it. You need to tilt that light out of there. Okay. Okay, now watch these pictures of McVeigh. There you go, there you go. This guy is not this guy. No. I mean, you can just hold, let me hold it right now. Now here he is again on this side, the staunch, tight-headed, bigger face McVeigh, and here's this guy that they wheeled out. Now I'm going to pass these around so you can look at them, and I want you to tell me if this is McVeigh. This is the original McVeigh, the one with the microchip in his ass. This is the guy who shows up, who got remorse and wants to talk. Watching me? Just get a look at him because I need you to tell me. See, sometimes I think I'm paranoid or something, so you all are my counsel. I do not underestimate the advice you give me. I don't underestimate the counsel that you give me about looking and what do you think, Brother Bruce? I mean, honestly, they look the same. Say, yeah, I ain't got no problem, sister. What do they say? Yeah, all the lights. Sister says they look alike to her too. Now, one key part about it is when you took the face pictures is the earlobes. I want you to look into the various earlobes of the faces. You'll see that the ears don't match. What you think? Okay, well that's something you need to look at because remember it was in this book that you heard first it was no John Doe number 2. 32 days before the FBI said it wasn't no John Doe number 2. What you think, Brother Dave? Anyway, I'm going to pass these around to you. I don't mean to compel you to have to move around. What you think, Brother Robert? One of the top research men in this country. Just going to owe you 100% point. Now, my man Robert X in Chicago told me that on Saturday on CNN, or must have been Saturday or the Saturday before last, the governor, let me just pass it from here on back. Well, here, go and take a look before I pass it. The governor, how many of you all saw on CNN the governor of Oklahoma? What's his name? Frank Keating was on CNN talking about a book his brother wrote 2 years ago about the bombing of Oklahoma City, and the character in the book was named McVeigh. Is that true or what? You saw it too? He predicted a couple other things in the book. Just like there was a book called The Crash of 79 that predicted the Iranian Revolution 3 years before 79. Again, when we talk about forming the futures group and preferred worlds, these honkies ain't jiving when a novel come out. Right. Or they relaying something subliminally in the public that looks unoffensive. That they're actually preparing and shaping minds for some reality that will manifest based upon their maliciousness and about wishing. You can wish things into reality. So that's interesting. And brother thought he had a copy in Chicago. We put the video in, but it didn't show up on the video. So I don't know if anybody videotaped it. Again, whenever you're home, when you got that remote in your hand, you're armed. Because you don't know how influential influential one shot you may take may be to me, who gets a chance to go to 70 cities and influence 70 or 80,000 people with a picture or an impression. And then it goes out in a tape or a videotape and sees another 100,000 people. These are very important moments. I didn't see CNN and the McVeigh piece, but I was glad the brother mentioned it, and now that he mentioned it, I asked you, and 4 people saw it. Anybody know anything about it in particular that I should mention into the record?
They covered it in the Post this past week.
They covered it in the Post this weekend. I didn't come back till Sunday, so I know I missed it.
They did an article where they threw out all the theories and say that everything's ridiculous and just shut up and go out.
Does anybody have the article?
Sunday's paper.
Is it Sunday's paper?
It's either Sunday or Saturday.
Anybody got Saturday's paper still? Again, you'll have a key article, you'll throw it away. Save some. If you think it's good, it don't mean Brother Cokely in town. So if you don't want to keep it for me. Cut it, clip it, put the date on it. But passing it on becomes excessively important, as we need the best evidence each and every round we go to fight. We need the best evidence available to make a positive impression on our people in the call for action. Check? Check. All right, so I put that weight on you to help make the picture better. Again, everything we got on the boule is everybody's pitching in to make this penetration effective. There's been a lot of rehash stories about Oklahoma too. Again, there's a tape over there called The Bombing, and LA is in quotation marks. That's what I felt was the best lecture on Oklahoma bombing. LA is just a location of it. But I highly recommend you to dabble inside of the tape for some things that are important. This is the article I mentioned earlier, African Americans in Israel Make Peace. Black Hebrews promised 1997 citizenship, but not as Jews. This is in the Washington Jewish Week, May 25th, 1995. Now, as I get to other cities, my friends haven't seen this article because it's the Washington Jewish Weekly. So when I go to a city, I let the local group take my information, go to the copy place or wherever they want, and get whatever they need to wake up and arm their soldiers in their town. So, this is the Washington Jewish Weekly, May 25th, 1995. In an unexpected soft voice, Ben Amin Ben Israel said that all diaspora Jews should be planning to make Aliyah. Such a move, said, would erase racial tensions as Americans know it. Propaganda. Wow. The local head in Washington said, most of the dreams, this is a quote, alleged quote, again, I say this is white, so until I asked the brother, I had to call it an alleged quote. Most of the dreams and aspirations of African Americans can only come true, have only come true in Israel, said Prince Emmanuel Ben Yehuda, national spokesman of the Black Hebrews based in Washington, D.C. Says all charges against the Hebrew Israelites have legally been dropped and haven't been from Chicago, where everybody came from. That's an excessive amount of crime that went down the drain in the deal. When I was at a Tongo's health food store, which is our SAR set in Chicago, some of the ex-Hebrew Israelites were at the lecture, and I let them analyze this article for our community to give us a reading from the inside what they felt about the validity of the article, and they were ashamed that they had once been in the organization. Oh, Brother Robert, you know this needs to go to Richmond, so we'll line that up. So we talked a little bit about LA, talked a little bit about New Orleans. On this last trip, I went to Dallas. I'll make that tape available for you soon. I went to Dallas and spoke at the Lazarus Conference for Commissioner John Wiley Price. In fact, if you know, in the newspaper, in the latest Final Call, there's a story in there about the 5 brothers in the Nation of Islam. Brother Jeremy, Brother Jeffrey, who's head of the nation in Dallas, and 4 other brothers were indicted by the FBI for having fogged some youth who kept breaking in the shopping center. And they just took them in the back and whipped them with belts. And sent them home to their parents, and everything was basically okay until a member of the media asked pressed one of the parents, and that compelled it out into the newspaper, which forced the district attorney and the FBI to come forth and indict the 5 brothers. And in fact, just last week, the grand jury refused to turn the indictment into a charge. But I sat with Brother Jeffrey. They had a big bowl-a-thon down there. Brother Chuck D was there. He was staying at my friend Dr. Sims' house, who's also quoted in that Dallas article. Dr. Sims and his family created Brother Man comic books. In fact, Dr. Sims is the brother that you saw in the program with Khallid on the Donahue show, who took the microphone from Donahue and started talking about why we're not anti-Semitic, because we're the Semitic people. He had on orange African garb. And I told you that when he went home that weekend, his wife was found dead in the bathtub. Dr. Simpson and Dr. Sims got gravely ill and was almost terminated off of a life machine. He has recovered. He's back walking. Said in a few more weeks he'll have full health. But all of a sudden a strange genetic disease grabbed him and knocked his body down. We got to be careful where you eat, what you eat, etc., who you getting it from. And I got a chance to sit with Dr. Sims. He had at his house Brother Chuck D there. Now, any of you all who've seen the video or heard the video or audio, Attack on Rap and Other Black Youth, know that in the early stages of Public Enemy, Brother Cokely was the backup man. Professor Griff, who was the Minister of Information, had gone around and picked up hundreds of dollars of Cokely tapes. Whenever the brothers came to town, they'd pick up the information and work the information. Those first 2 album covers contained my name on them. But when the pressure got put on them in Switzerland, when Professor Griff was renouncing Oppenheimer, whose money was hidden in Switzerland, the Switzerland government refused to let them in, and they got kicked out. And the CBS Records, then headed by Yintenkopf, a white of the Jewish religion, had asked the Public Enemy to repudiate Professor Griff, and Professor Griff to repudiate the information. He refused to. Chuck D did. Griff got kicked out of the group. Pardon me?
Black his face up. He told us about that.
He did what?
He came around and said black his face up.
Who did? Oh, black the space out. Black Griff's space out. Well, funny thing about the evolution of the circle. Yeah. On my last trip to Atlanta, when I spoke at Morehouse, Professor Griff was in the audience. He comes anywhere we're nearby. He lives in Atlanta, and he whispered in my ear, he said, Steve, Public Enemy is broken up, and Chuck D lives here now, too. So when I go to Dallas, and I call Dr. Sims, he says, I got Chuck D in my house. I want you to come stay in my house with me. I said, no, I'm not going to do that because me and the brother ain't got along in the past, and I don't want to put no pressure or no tension in your house over me and this brother. But they have a big fundraiser there. Who's there but Dick Gregory? Grabbing on every skirt he can get his hands on. And Chuck D, the mayor of Dallas, the key state rep, all in this big bowl-a-thon. So after my lecture, which was that morning, I went over to the bowl-a-thon and joined those who had assembled. First person I went to see was Chuck D. Brother, let's talk. He and I sat down, and the first thing he told me, he said, brother, before you say anything, I want to let you know that me and Griff are back together again and working on an album. That's the evolution of the circle. Yeah. And that Public Enemy, as you have known it, has been broken up. There is no such Public Enemy as what was with Terminator X, who was in a car accident, who was paralyzed, as well as with Favor Flay, who had legal problems. So Professor Griff and Chuck D are coming back again together. And we'll be working together soon down in Atlanta, carving out some new material. This could have happened in 1988 when they broke us apart. Right. And I tell you, I was again in the room with them, and they reached out and said, we got any money? Somebody reached down in their pocket, got $80,000 in their pocket. And we sitting in the room saying, hey, let's work on the white man. Even when Luke Skywalker went down there and started publishing Griff, they went down there and whipped that case on Luke and took away Skywalker off of his operation. For publishing Professor Griff, the Pawns in the Game album, when did nobody want anybody to work with Professor Griff because he wouldn't repudiate the attack on the hunky. But those were banks that we had at a time when we had bank in the early stages, and they broke up a whole group to keep us from getting that bank. And anyway, that is involved. The mayor of Dallas was there. We talked. They brought him to me, and he said he telling me how he knew Harold Washington. He used to be an aide in the Congress up here. He lived in Washington. He was an aide to then Senator Lloyd Bentsen. And he's the first black mayor of Dallas. He's very moderate. But he was out with the aggressors at the little bowl-a-thon. And then they come and told me that this is the blackest state rep in Dallas. They bring him over. I look down on the boule list because every time they bring me somebody out. Look on the list, and they have the blackest state rep on the boule list. And when they went to meet him, I said, boule win. No, I don't need to meet him. And went on away from me, brother. Brother Charles, you've been down there with me. They asked about you. Brother Kwame Brown, they asked about you. I took Brother Charles down to Dallas with me one trip when we spoke for a group called Our Time Is Now. A young group of brothers who had assembled in Dallas. And we went down and took Brother Charles down there with me. Even the hotel we stayed in, Charles, they had closed it down. A little reminder there is blanker than a sin. Anyway, so we got a chance to make some amends and retie up some things. But the Dallas lecture was packed. We had a very influential program. And then I was brought there by the county commissioner of Dallas. And this guy, John Wiley Price, is a rare black man who has a Liberation Radio show that runs every day of the week in Dallas in the evening. And I'm going to start trying to get him and some of these other radio hosts that I know to do radio shows in other cities about doing the radio. It's just a series of ideas we got that we're going to start programming. Many of my friends at the various cities have gotten behind the radio show people to start supplying them with guests, supplying them with issues and insights, such that we're getting more influential behind the scenes in the programming of activity that black people receive. By sidebar, when I was in New Orleans, I don't know if I mentioned this at Bernie Baptist, a guy who was on TV there in Dallas in New Orleans got bumped down to the radio. He lost his TV job, an anchor job. He was the black anchor there on one of the main stations, and he got bumped down to the radio. 3 radio networks that was black that got bought up by a white man. And he was very careful not to want to offend white people. So when it's told I'm coming to New Orleans and I'm going to be the guest, the ADL somehow found I was coming, told him that he couldn't have me on, and he went to tell his general manager that he had canceled me from the Sunday morning live show. In many of these cities, the main FM station, the main music FM station, has a Sunday morning live format of talk shows that run from about 8 a.m. to noon on Sundays, and about 10 or 15 different cities have these Sunday morning lives. And when he went to the general manager and told him that he had canceled me and needed a new guest, the manager said, "Who did you cancel?" He said, "Steve Cokely. You better put him back on this show. That's my friend from Chicago. He helped make my radio station in Chicago. He helped make mine the #1 talk show in Chicago, which was WBMX. The guy's name was Ernest Dell James. He's the general manager down in New Orleans, and he made the host put me back on. But the host didn't know who knew us, so that when he went to the general manager thinking he was going to get approval for asking me, he found out that he became a suspect for being weak. And James told him, "Don't be no punk for no white man. This is a white station, but if we don't run it the way we want it, he can take it back. And when we want somebody on this air, it's incumbent upon you not to take it upon yourself to transact business for white people. And Steve Cokely is my man." And I was on, and interestingly enough, as I'm talking, the actual announcer of the show was connected to the Boule banker down there, the main bank down there. Boule banker was the financier of the host. So when I got ready to talk about the Boule, he went to block me, and the brother that knocked me off the air grabs the microphone and says, "Steve, I used to be a Greek. Boy, was that a fraud. Tell the audience about the Boule. Read the Boule names into the record." And I got to stay on extra time to read the Boule into the record because the brother who had turned us down got caught in a sense of wanting to overachieve or compensate for having punked a couple of days earlier. So these are benefits that can incur when you got the appropriate motion in your train. You can start reinventing behavior. And we're proud that happened the way it did. I was told that DC Cable every Friday during the month of July from 11 to 12, Brother Cokely's going to be on. So look forward to that. I don't know. I got a call from my buddy in...
10 to 11.
Huh?
10 to 11.
10 to 11. Okay, 10 to 11. At night. Every Friday during the month of July or August. I don't know how it's going, but we're going to put some new material on. I'm going to start using the cable access here a little bit more familiar. Again, soon you're going to see the Bernie Backus lecture on DC Cable. And you know shit going to start flying when it hits the screen.
Public access?
Public access, yes. And more of you should take the time to go over and qualify to get a show. All you have to do is be trained in using the equipment or trained in using the cameras, pay whatever little ceremonial fees they have. I know Brother Robert has a live show in Richmond, Virginia. He reaches the audience there. And the key thing is about getting a regular time. That's the hard thing. Get a slot time where all of your friends know you're available. Or accessible to the audience. So look forward to that up ahead. Again, those of you who are interested in signing up for Grassroots 2000, we are advancing. I just had the Chicago list up in front of me. I just looked real hard at the, this is the Chicago list of people that we took down Saturday night. Any of those that are interested in signing up who weren't here at Bernie Backus on Saturday, who want to sign up to participate in our little organization on the future. Again, the theory is that we do not have an analysis and a program based on the future. And that this is part of the process of compensating and relaying information prior to it being necessary. When I was in Chicago, I met with a group of brothers who had a very interesting strategy I would like to promote and advance. It was a strategy about teaching basic skills to young black men who decide they don't want to go to school. Carpentry, plumbing, painting, machine fixing, utility fixing. Three brothers got together who consider themselves able to fix anything, to do anything. And so these brothers asked if I would help them set up a process by which they could teach skills. And so we're going to be bringing that here. You're going to see this brother soon because the idea was important, because we got youth who want to do something, and to teach and to give them skills was important. How to remove wallpaper, how to plaster or skim coat your wall or ceiling, how to repair your wall or ceiling, how to repair broken tile, how to hang wallpaper, how to repair porches, replace wood, repair broken windows, repair old garages, strip wood, workshop, carpentry, plumbing, the training workshops. I heard a brother here in D.C. get on the radio and say, what can we teach if we use videotape? Could we not teach a man how to build a house on a videotape? How to do the cornerstones, how to put the woods together? How come Jimmy Carter can go out here in Montgomery County and build 80 houses? Build it with people just pitching in. In other words, hey, I want to build a house. The people who can build a house show up and do it till they finish. Saying that a white man can come and show creation. But I mean, what he is, I will give him that, but he's a trilateral commissioner. He knows he portrayed the confidence of the people. But what he did do in repent was to try to compensate for the bad that he did as a president. And I ain't into Jimmy Carter, but I understand the principle of building them houses. I work with a group of people in Chicago who got prefab houses. The ability to put you a house in here. We got black people away building houses that are building them on lots. The place where I lectured that Saturday has a model home sitting across from it that was a prefab. What's the problem we're running into with our houses is that the unions don't want to let the municipality license the houses because we don't use no fucking union labor. We use black people whose only qualification to build a house had to be black. So we're running into trouble with the unions. And I told you in the past that the AFL-CIO is fighting it out with the AFL-CIO, and I hope they beat each other's ass till they fall out. I hope they start shooting each other. Again, the propagation, advancement, and incitement of white-on-white violence is a high-level strategy of our Black Liberation Program. Very important to all of us. I want to go back to a story I go around the country and I show this picture of Marion Barry hugging that white man after he won that election, September 28, 94, front page of the Washington Post. And the reason I show this is that many people ask me as I go to the various cities, what happened to D.C.? And I said it happened right here. On this day, he showed the white man that he was happy just to return as mayor. And even though it was the black people who didn't give up on him while the white people pissed all over him, that he turned his back the first opportunity he had and renounced Malik Zulu Shabazz, renounced Louis Farrakhan, is writing the story, renounced everything, said there's no place in this town, in my town, for Louis Farrakhan. So now here comes the Million Man March. Now I told you that Marion Barry has to answer for the cancellation of African Liberation Day. Yeah, they had it, but they didn't have it. And he needs to come out and respond to that. Because ain't no way we can get rid of one and get another, and this be what he adds to the dilemma. He was getting beat up on the Ernest White Show?
He was called the animal part.
Well, I tell you, he needs to come out and do something unusual and be a brother again. It's just a shame, again, that black people can't wait for the opportunity to repudiate other black people as soon as they get a chance. Brother, I owe you for a drink. I'll get you in a second. And that brought me to another topic I wanted to show about on the side of Marion Barry, because if you think about what are the major black institutions in Washington, D.C. besides the city government? And with thousands of employees and 10,000 students, it could be a potential threat to the recolonization of the District of Columbus. And I found a story in the Jewish Weekly I think I need to share with you. And the story is about the new president of Howard University. Now, if you remember, it's in the Progress, Regress conspiracy tape. There's a couple of DC tapes up here you need to get. One is called Progress, Regress, and Conspiracy. That was the lecture we gave here May 16th. It's over here, and then the lecture we gave here June 6th of 95 is called The District of Columbus in Trouble 95. Titles I just put on the tapes because we didn't have no titles for the lecture. But I'm trying to reflect the content of the program, but the latest tapes that I have don't have labels on them. They're handwritten because I haven't had the computer to do them up yet. So soon there'll be printed labels for them, but don't underestimate the tape when you see a handwritten label. And my handwriting and sisters is not as good as the print label, but it has nothing to do with the content of the tape itself. Now I'm looking for an article that I just got out of the Jewish Weekly. And the article was a tribute to the new president of Howard University. And the article was declaring what a great friend of the state of Israel that he is. And how they can look forward to great advances on behalf of Jewish issues on the campus of Howard, because he's a lifelong friend of the Jewish community, and they more than anything look forward to his resurrection on August 1st as the president of Howard. And I'm going to find him up here in a minute. I got the top article is here. You remember this article we talked about on that Progress, Regress conspiracy. President-elect Swigert is no stranger to controversy. And this was a brother from Howard in the last issue of the, what they call a newspaper, Hilltop, that he gave a little insight into the history of Swigert. And it was a very good article talking about his relationship with Israel, the number of years he spent speaking, professoring in Israel, and it talked about, thank you, brother. It talked about how on the campus of Albany, State University of New York at Albany, where he worked, how he always, a white woman accused a black man of raping her, and he locked down the black students only to find out that her father had raped her, something like that. And that he had wasn't even willing to apologize to the black students for having retaliated against them on the mere word of a white woman. And so he was not well liked on his campus, and now because of that, he was considered appropriate to bring to Howard. Of course, again, you have to show the appropriate behavior to get promotion. So he exhibited the type of behavior that deemed promotion in the white world. And I don't really want to postpone finding his ass. Get on up here, Swiper. But I'll just tell you what the article said in the Jewish Weekly. It says that he's no stranger to the state of Israel. He's one of their prominent friends. He's been a friend for over 20 years. He stood up and fought for them. He's going to speak at the National Convention of the American Jewish Congress on black and Jewish tensions. He exemplified that he was not going to harp on the negativity of black Jewish tensions, but on the positiveness, and like the exchange program where the black students are leaving Howard, going to Israel. You know, we read that story, and Brother Robert, in that story of the exchange, I mentioned to you that night, the exchange of the Howard students going to Israel, because one of the students is from Richmond. And she announced that she was going back to Richmond and clean up the black community to make it accept the fact that Jewish people are our friends. I'm going to give you her name in a minute. It was on the news too. It was on the news too? Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. Because anytime you can catch a fool like that, that's a fool worth showing to everybody. So that would not doubt me. I would not doubt the fact that that became the type of story that was worth sharing with a lot of people. And I just moved her story over here. I needed to pass you that article and give you that name, just so that you can keep up with her, because we should not allow them to leave one place and go to another and to be able to cause such disruption and activity. And so I'm going to find her. She just slid past. I just had her in my hand. Where'd she go? Brad, that's Ronald. Brad. Oh, here we go. Here she is. Learning from one another. Here she is here, Robert, hugging the Jewish woman. And you'll get some details out of there. So that she cannot manifest there. Hopefully you can do it up on the TV show down there, so that it'll be news. You'll start breaking that news. Here's the other part of the article where she says, in Guy's hometown of Richmond, Virginia, relationships between African Americans and Jews are not a huge topic. You have to establish the background and then build a foundation, says Guy. She intends to do. There's definitely going to be learning in Richmond. Okay, go pass that back to Brother Robert, so that he will assure that that will not be so easily accomplished, because the white community has willed it so. And that's important. But the one thing that's missing, that's making me mad, is that story on that boy admitting he's a flunky for the state of Israel. We don't want to miss that. I think we might be getting close to him around here. Anyway, again, what the article does say is that he is a lifelong friend, and we can look forward to great things at Howard University because we have a friend at the top. And even in the article, it contains a comment from Latner, who's repudiating Farrakhan as an anti-Semite, and saying that she's proven her worthiness. And of course, she got promoted on the Financial Control Board because she proved she could do that type of thing. I mentioned to you earlier something about Malala Karinga. It's something I want to read into the record for you. It's in the Counterinsurgency Then and Now tape, but it's something that I want to read into the record before the night is over in regards to his involvement with a white man named Kenny Hahn and a rabbi named Rabbi Alfred Wolf. And as I showed you the article earlier with Karinga on it on the front page of the Wall Street Journal, I want to make sure I get into the record before the evening is over, the article of Schweigert as well as the piece from the doctor's thesis of a brother about the activities of Maulana Karinga in the 60s. Listen to these names. You may not know the names. I'm going to read this into the record, and we'll pick up on it about the development of the what they call the Human Relations Commission. The Westminster Neighborhood, the LA County Commission on Human Relations, took over the Watts Summer Festival as part of their pacification and healing efforts, which Rabbi Alfred Wolf had spoken of in front of county supervisors. It mentions a man named Tommy Jarquette, who is one of the main men out there, and black nationalist Maulana Karinga, who worked at the Westminster as teaching and taught Swahili on Saturday mornings. And it says how Tommy Jarquette said he's a member of the Watts Summer Festival Committee and chose and a close associate of Ron Karinga. They became the chief executors of the Westminster and the Commission on Human Relations policies of subverting pro-riot activists, advocates, and violent individuals, black militants and revolutionaries. Jarquette went into the field to recruit black unemployed youth, gangsters, and militants into Westminster program, while Karinga was to hold them there with his militant race rhetoric and history classes on Swahili language class. The raising of race consciousness was now being used to pacify blacks rather than the call to race to militancy or war or riots. Westminster Neighborhood Association had been formed in 1961 with a staff of 15, and it had a staff of some 100 to 350 students. It was the largest employer in Watts in 1966. And it talked about how Jarquette received over $800,000 to employ the youth in 1966 money. And it talked about how Jarquette and Karinga, it seems that the Westminster served as a payroll front for the Commission on Human Relations Workers and Pacification Program. Boggs, who was head of the Commission on Human Relations in June of '66 at Fisk University, revealed in part the relationship between the Commission on Human Relations and Jarquette, but refused to mention Karinga. Boggs stated that he is in our office at least twice a week. He doesn't work for us. He just likes to come there. Then the boy mentioned that he got the payroll records showing that he was assigned to Westminster through the Commission on Human Relations, having been assigned there from the LA County Social Work Division, of which Karinga had gotten a job as a social worker after coming out of UCLA. Anyway, you'll find the rest of that article and discussion in the counterinsurgency then and now. I want to mention something that you may have saw that needs some interpretation. Mandela scolds blacks on continuing violence. This is an older article. I just want to read it into the record. February 18th of '95. Sounding more like a disciplinarian than a politician, South African President Nelson Mandela lashed out at anarchy, corruption, crime, rent boycotts, illegal squatting, and illegal strikes during the strongly worded State of the Nation address today. In addition to scolding those who subscribe to the culture of entitlement and who misread freedom to mean license, Mandela warned his constituents not to expect too many material benefits from his 9-month-old administration. South Africa's first black to be elected as such. He said government does not have such riches. We to rid ourselves of the notion that government has a big bag of money. Rather than propose new programs for the poor, he said he hoped to reduce the deficit and shrink public spending. Sound like Marion Barry. Sound like the guy head of PG County. This is the Washington Post, Saturday, February 18th of '95. And it goes on to say how he won't seek re-election in 1999. I want you to make a note of it today. I predict to you that Mandela will be dead within 90 days from today. That's based on some inside information that I received from some of my friends in South Africa that said they actually shot at him once and missed him. But that you give him 90 more days, he'll be dead as a goose. Not because we want him so, but because that was the plan all along. Then when I was in Chicago, a buddy of mine gave me an article on De Beers that appeared in the USA Today. And the article on De Beers had a discussion with Harry Oppenheimer. And in the article it says that Mandela after every trip abroad, briefs Harry Oppenheimer on what he does and what he did and who he talked to and what they talked about at the end of each foreign trip. And I want to enter that into the record. It is in the, what do you call that, the U.S. News and World Report. And that article is a 1984 article. And it suggests that it also said that before Mandela appointed 3 of his cabinet members, he first checked with Harry Oppenheimer for permission to hire him. And Brother Robert, I got to make sure you get that. Yeah. I seem to be missing one something. There's one something missing off of this table that I keep looking for that I believe has the most focused part of something that I wanted to mention in the lecture. And we'll get the date of the U.S. News and World, USA Today story into the record as well, so that it can be picked up and followed up on by applicants, and the fact that people don't consider it a scurrilous dialogue to mention it, that it be based on something someone can see and find, rather than that it be considered to be speculative. And until I show it to you, it's speculative. No, those are not mine. No, those are not mine there. I'll get it, because there's a point in the lecture when I'll have a chance to reach down and grab it. Edgar Brockman reaches out to young Jews. Billionaire dismisses continuity talk, urges education. Edgar Brockman has emerged as one of the most powerful and most honorary and most aggressive members of the Jewish religion that has ever emerged. He became the chairman of Hillel, which is the campus-based program of the Jewish community, and has announced that he is donating millions of dollars to increase Jewish infiltration of campuses. And that's a very important story, because Brockman also just bought MCA. We mentioned that in the past, that he had bought MCA, the entertainment company, and that Brockman is also the head of the World Zionist Organization, and he has emerged as a very arrogant and pushy on behalf of Jewish people. And when you look at his picture, I'm going to pass his story around. Look at his picture. Look at his face. He looks like a devil. That's right, Bobby. He looks like a devil. A straight-up devil. Brockman, president of the World Zionist Conference since 1980 and chairman of Hillel's International Board of Governors. Talks about a trip he recently had to San Francisco. We'll pass this around. This is the USA Today story, June 20th, 1994. And it's sees limited role for ANC and Mandela. Diamond billionaire Harry Oppenheimer. Hold on, Bob. Diamond billionaire Harry Oppenheimer, 86, a shy retiree and one of the world's wealthiest men, reveals in his first interview in years how he helped bring about the end of apartheid. And it says in the article, what did he do to end apartheid? He said Oppenheimer set out to abolish apartheid with the determination which he built six continents. How many continents are there? He says he built a 6-continent diamond empire, which means only one continent ain't involved. Huh? United States, there you go. Because the United States ain't got diamonds.
Right.
And he got Australia, he got Africa. Remember I told you the 3 men who run the world.
Right.
Rockefeller for United States, Canada, Mexico, South America. Rothschild for Europe. Oppenheimer for Australia and Africa.
Billionaires Club.
Only one in the Billionaires Club, and that's out now in the latest Forbes magazine from Africa. He says he was one of the first business leaders to contact the ANC. We talked about that in the Diamonds Jewish People South Africa tape. about how they went to Galvin Riley, and got Oliver Tambo, and started making the preparations to get Mandela out of jail. He was one of the first business leaders to contact ANC when it was in exile in nearby Zambia in '85, giving it much needed credibility. He persuaded the ANC to tone down its hostile rhetoric, calling for violent boycotts against white-owned businesses to win worldwide respect by renouncing such boycotts. He spent undisclosed millions of dollars on black educational programs. Sound like the tape White Finance Negro Leadership versus Marcus Garvey? The strategy was, educate a nigga and he'll be loyal to you forever.
Right.
And that theory worked even in Africa. Says up to 70% of South Africans, 29.4 million blacks are illiterate. That's hypothetical. His final and most defining act came when he secretly shuttled negotiators in his private unmarked jet to coax last-minute deal that brought the rebel Buthelezi into the South Africans' first all-race election. So now we understand that Buthelezi, remember that reluctance of Buthelezi to come forward? Oppenheimer now takes credit for paying Buthelezi off and bringing him forward. You'll be a rich man till the day you die, Buthelezi. Buthelezi then joins up. It says here, no wonder Oppenheimer succeeded where Kissinger and Carrington failed. Remember, they went over there to try to negotiate a settlement. It also is no wonder that Mandela briefs Oppenheimer upon returning from international trips, sought his approval for 2 cabinet appointments, and even visits his private cricket grounds for lunch on the 4th anniversary of his 1990 release from prison. It also is no wonder that Mandela briefs Oppenheimer upon returning from international trips. That's interesting. Anyway, get into that article. It's got some other key things in there about Oppenheimer and the desire to make Oppenheimer the main man. Remember the theme we talked about the rich white man is in a fight with the poor white man and is setting up the black man to rescue him. Watch very carefully all the articles about Colin Powell's presidential possibilities. Each and every one of the articles suggests he may be the only man to save America. Remember the theory that the rich white man will, in a fight with the poor white man, will call upon the black man to rescue him. Remember we said that those movies, Die Hard 2, and Enemy Within, and Crimson Tide, and what? Lethal Weapon, and all the others got the black man saving the white man. So we be remembering our goal is to cut him off at the pass and stop him from giving this unbinding loyalty and respect to the white man. Interestingly enough, when I was in Chicago Saturday, those of you who bought that tape already about Cokely on Chicago radio, I only had 3, but you're going to hear the host, Cliff Kelly, announce that following Steve Cokely is Jesse Jackson. In fact, the lineup was Steve Cokely. Oh yeah, look at them 2 pictures. That's a good shot right now. I appreciate whoever went back and put them 2 heads together, because I think those 2 pictures give you a good back-to-back facial on. How do they look now?
It looks like Bruce Springsteen.
Look like Bruce Springsteen. Again, remember that the white man in Higher Learning, John Singleton's movie, looked a lot like McVeigh himself.
Right.
A devil, sure you're right. Now that I don't know.
Guy, the left nose is a lot bigger.
Yeah. Yeah. Now we can say he's been in jail, maybe he lost a little weight, and his face shrunk. Teeth got crooked, and his ear size changed. Now that's a possibility. But not a probability. And I don't know if you all hear when I talked about that CNN thing?
No.
That the governor of Oklahoma, Frank Keating, Fred Keating's brother, wrote a book about a bombing in Oklahoma 2 years ago. How long ago? About 2 years ago, and he had a character in it called McVeigh. Except you had heard about it? Yeah, we gotta capture that. We need that. We need to be able to show it and to share it with our friends. But I appreciate whoever put them two pictures together, because that's an even better shot of the similarity or lack of those McVeigh faces. Now, remember our theme, fuck Rockefeller. Let me hear you say it. Fuck Rockefeller. Let me hear you say it. Fuck Rockefeller. That's always a theme of ours, the fuck Rockefeller. Now, you know they're going out with a move now to prevent flag burning. It's just a symbol. The court has said you have the right to burn it or whatever. I ain't even into that. But watch as they squeeze the hunkies' right to dissent and how the hunky will fight them back aggressively. And again, white-on-white violence is very good. I did appreciate this article in News Dimensions about Jewish group influence said to be growing on Howard University campus. That was a good story. I like that story. That wasn't a press release. I like that story. Hi, baby. How's my baby girl?
They're doing profiles on the rich on A&E.
Right. Thursday night, they're doing a week's profile on the rich on American Arts and Entertainment Channel, but Thursday night is the Rockefeller night. So make sure you watch A&E Thursday, maybe 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock.
Check it 8 o'clock.
Yeah, to get the Rockefeller piece. Anyway, that's very important for all of us. Now let me dabble into some things that are our own personal news, things that only we can talk about with each other, but are important to each and every one of us. Many of you all remember those tapes over there called the summary analysis of the conspiracy to kill Khallid Mohammed and the phase 2 analysis of the conspiracy to kill Khallid Mohammed. And I've mentioned that as many of you all may not have known, Khallid Mohammed spent 3 weekends ago with Minister Farrakhan in Chicago, and 2 weekends ago in Chicago, and that eventually resulted in the latest issue of the Final Call. Now, you all remember, it was right here in this room, I said that you all need to look at that story that appeared in the Final Call on the summit in Gabon. And the story at the summit in Africa, the story was that Khallid spoke at the summit in Senegal, and that James Muhammad, the editor of the paper, wrote the article on Khallid and had a little box in there about how we got... Don't put your pictures away, sister. I'm getting ready to call.
Oh, no, I'm not.
Okay. All right. Yes. Yeah, I'm coming to that. I just want to show the cover. Can't get it. I'll do them both at once.
No, I thought you were looking for the picture.
Yeah, that's here on page 3.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
But I was showing the cover for the record. But come on, I'll take you down and do them both at the same time. Anytime you're clipping papers, you need 2 copies. That's the only way you can do front and back. If you have 3 copies, you can then lend one while you keep running back. Oh, no. I lose a lot of stuff lending stuff. So to preserve it, that's a good strategy. Anyway, you remember me mentioning to you that article was an indicator that something was afloat. I want to tell you personally that I take a humble, very unappreciated role in making Khallid Mohammed reproachable by the Nation of Islam. You will see here what looks like a, what do they call it, a remarriage. But it may be shallow and hollow. And I'm going to talk to you about it now. Khallid Mohammed resumes posts. He doesn't resume his old posts. He's been reassigned, but the stories tend to indicate that, and there's several things inside of here that give me some clues that something funny's up. Now, remember, it was Brother Cokely who went out around the country showing things like this about the day Khallid was shot, and the story showing that the man that shot at Khallid Mohammed wore a dark suit, a white shirt, and a bow tie. And you know I showed you the 2 major papers and 2 different people. One the police official, one the University of California Riverside official, saying that he had on a bow tie, and that's that red portion I underlined. And then I showed you that picture of James Best in the final call with a straight tie on. You remember that? Which meant that we obviously had our hands on a discrepancy. But what in fact is most important about the lecture into the assassination attempt of Khalid Muhammad is that a third force showed up and stopped competing forces, black, from using assassination as an alternative in working out a disagreement between another brother. In the Long Beach tape, for those of you who heard it, on the fourth tape, you'll hear an arrogant brother from the Nation of Islam. Arrogant because he made some serious misstatements that I busted him on. On the fourth tape, you hear him speak up and say, you get this tape, brother?
Yeah.
You hear that tape when the brother comes on and he says, well, but before Cokely tell y'all all this stuff and tell y'all, get y'all whipped up, I warn y'all, y'all will get y'all ass kicked listening to Cokely, listening to things he's saying and acting off of it, and you better check with us first and this and that. And I told him that the nation had showed excessive immaturity in the 60s.
Yeah, right.
When we lost Malcolm X, because they felt that a disagreement with a brother, that assassination was an alternative in a disagreement with a brother, while hunkies were accommodated. And that was the immaturity that the 90s were not going to resurrect. And Brother Cokely risked his life. Now they shot at us Sunday morning in Chicago, but the tension that went down in LA when I went up in there to do that investigation, and Brother Jamal that was here with us at Bernie Bacchus, who with Brother Keaty went up under there and found that hole in the fence. And the shooter's nest in the back. Those of you who saw or heard those tapes, you could stand to appreciate the quality of the investigative work that we assembled as a group of brothers with knowledge and desire and no bank. And I told you our theme is we're a revolutionary, we're a revolution without a bank, Brother Charles, that's never taken a step back. And even though others have waited for moments when they got money to go out and help black people, we like a fool been doing it with no money. And in this tape, brother stands up and makes certain remarks. And I impress upon him that that immaturity would not be accepted any longer, and that the nation was being policed by people who were making it clear that assassination is not an alternative in disagreement between brothers. And when we did that investigation, we found complicity in the Anti-Defamation League. We found complicity in the Jewish Defense League. We found complicity in the California County Sheriffs. We found complicity in the California Riverside Police. We found complicity in the Riverside Campus Police. We found complicity in the media, who was given a false picture of James Edward Best, and we whipped all of them. And we found complicity inside the nation. People whose security procedures were operating according to the security book. And we policed them all. And then I showed some of you. It's in this tape, I played Brother Eric Muhammad's speech at the Slave Theater in New York, where he stood up and said Minister Farrakhan brought him to Chicago to establish what it was Brother Cokely had, what information Cokely had on the assassination attempt of Brother Khallid. And he was on the stage crying because they were out to try to kill him in New York, but defending Brother Khallid. And that Minister Farrakhan sat down the Minister of New York, the Captain of New York, and the regional head of the East Coast, and asked them who put that order out to kill Eric Muhammad. None of them said they did. And he asked them, did they know of the order to kill Eric Muhammad? They all said they heard it. And then he asked them, why would you allow an order to stand that I didn't give and you didn't give to kill a brother that would have started a war in New York and around the country? And Mr. Farrakhan flew to New York, told him to lay off Eric Muhammad, told Eric Muhammad to meet him in Atlantic City, and there he told Eric, I want to meet you in Chicago on Saturday, where I want you to tell me the things Cokely got, and I want to share with you the information I have on the assassination attempt of Khalid Muhammad. And the reason he needed to do that was that in those tapes on the summary and the follow-up, we raised questions that he had not worked hard enough to get to the bottom of it. And my job was not to know friends or not to know enemies, but to relay the facts, and I raised the questions where I saw the discrepancies. And without touching these people, they felt the weight of the Inquisition. and behavior changed. And a brother was brought back in who couldn't be left out because it looked illogical that you would stand up in front of whites and repudiate him in front of a group of hunkies and a year later have to take him back and he ain't changed a lick. He ain't agreed to do nothing but stop cussing. So if you took it, he didn't tone down one speech since he been let out. He talked about the hunky every day he been gone.
Right.
So what's different now than different then? Other than when you come for 1 million men, you ain't gonna get them when you punk in front of hunkies.
Right.
And when people got the courage to stand out and call you for punking in front of the hunkies, you might not like it's being said, and you might not like that it's being said, but you got to give credence to the weight of those who gave it and the influence they have with the people who heard it. Brother Cokely.
Sir. Yeah.
So, true. Don't ever underestimate the power of knowledge and the implementation of knowledge into the action arena. But, some strange something happened. You all remember the night we were at Patricia Harris Center, up in that cold, sleeted day that Malik Zulu Shabazz had a campaign rally. And Khallid, Cokely, and Malik spoke together. Now that was a very important night because that night, while I was on the stage, I was saying that someone had tipped me about somebody who was involved in the assassination attempt of Khalid Muhammad, and that I would not name their name in the public because I felt it was a sucker punch to pin somebody who he had authority over. And what had happened in fact, because he's got an answer to this, because the confusion over it has escalated. Even in the story, as late as the story on Khallid. What was the comment? The comment was that when Eric Muhammad did meet with Minister Farrakhan, Minister Farrakhan gave him information to give to me. If you look at my phone records, you will see a 4.5-hour phone call of me calling Eric Muhammad in New York to get what was told to me to advance my investigation, and Eric don't have long-distance service, so it had to go on my bill. But I can prove that. We can prove the times and the dates. You can go to the tape in Atlantic City. You can go to the tape in New York where he says lay off for Eric. Eric will stand up at the Slave Theater and said he called me to Chicago to tell him what Cokely had so that he could help and clarify his own intentions. And in that meeting with Eric Muhammad, he told Eric, ask Cokely to find that letter that Dr. Halim gave to Khalid Muhammad at a speech, 2-3 speeches after he was suspended in Baltimore. He said, tell Cokely to find that letter. My phone records will further show that after I talked with Eric Muhammad, I picked up the phone, called Khalid Muhammad in New York, and left a message. Tell me when you need to cut, because we don't want to miss an inch of this. This is 5 minutes, okay? I called Khallid, left a message on his line. What is this about a letter? You never told me. Now Khallid, from his hospital room, gave me a 3.5-hour insight into everything that had happened in Los Angeles after I flew there because he was worried about all the investigators that were around him. He felt none were in his interest, so he deposited, and the other people there deposited the knowledge of what happened that day in me. And then me and my friends went and used that with all those things we gathered and made the picture. And the picture was strong. And they have rescheduled Best trial, I think, over 7 times now, because the feds and the LAPD and the county sheriffs are scared to take them to trial because they know we got more information on that than they do. And the minute they make a wrong move, we got their ass. So they keep holding it and holding it. And he's been to trial 5 times. They ain't moved the inch because they're scared to make a move. I have Best's driver's license. I have Best's calling card with that white woman Vukovic from Seattle, Washington's name. I told you all.
Yeah.
Anyway. Because when he was on the ground, he got stripped. But the point of it is that they ain't made no move yet because they scared to. Now, in this article on Khalid's coronation with the nation, there's some paragraphs in there dealing with Dr. Ali. And it was needed to be in there to clean up the mess that went down that night at the Patricia Harris Center. Now, if you follow the cleverness of Cokely, that's right. Steve, I forgot about that letter. I remember that letter now. You can see me receive this letter on the videotape. Right. Brother Jamil, who was head of the nation in Baltimore, who's now down in Atlanta. And the other people, you see Khallid get the letter. You see him show us the letter to the others who were on the podium. And the letter had a comment in it about that tonight you are reincarnating the spirit of Malcolm X or something like that. And the thing went on to say something like, what happened to Malcolm will happen to you.
History repeats.
Right, something like that. So he took it as a threat. He showed it to the other people there on the rostrum. And he then took the letter and filed it. And Mr. Farrakhan told Eric to tell me that he's asked Arlene for that letter, he asked Khallid for that letter, and neither of them gave it to him. So he asked me if I could get the letter, because the letter would be important to my investigation. So when I called Khallid, before I get into where is the letter, it was, brother, why did you not tell me about the letter? Because I'm the depositor on this situation. He said, Baba, I forgot. He said, but that's key because blankety, 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 blankety. He says, the letter's in a box. I'm packing up and moving, so I'll dig the letter out for you. He ain't pulled the letter out yet.
Who's this Khallid?
Who is he?
No, I'm saying.
Yeah.
Khallid, yeah, he ain't pulled the letter out yet, but everybody knows the letter's real. Anyway, so I thought it was strange that this letter and Arlene was being leaked out to Eric and leaked to me because Mr. Farrakhan has authority over Arlene.
Right.
So why tip to me on the outside about something that a member is doing on the inside? And I felt uncomfortable about using Arlene's name in the public based on the fact that authority over Arlene could have been exercised. So if you look at the tape in Chicago, special message to my hometown. It's only on video. Where that tape at? Special message to my hometown. With the minister's main guard right on me, you hear me stand in front of the audience and say, I received this information about I'm throwing my hook in the water and somebody puts a fish on it. But I'm not going to name, I'm the names man, I'm not going to name that fish. Because maybe there are bigger fish in the water and somebody threw me this fish because I was getting close. But Khallid got weak that night at the Patricia Harris Center. And when I told the audience I wouldn't name the person, as soon as Khallid went up, he snatched the microphone and named the person. But I was clear, and I tried to counsel him prior to that. Don't fall for the trap of this programmed leak. It smells. And brother did 10 different lectures. You'll check my tape. Because my shit is live, uncensored, uncut. I don't even look at this shit after I do it. But the point of it is, I know I didn't bite that hook. Because I knew the hook smelled. Oh. Now, we go to Patricia Harris Center, and there's a reporter in the program. The lady from Source magazine. Right, yeah. So what happens is she writes a story. Right. Right, it was in Source. I got it right here. Easy on the front. Easy on the front. Here we go. This issue is dated June of '95. And the story is entitled Thinking of a Master Plan. Oh, cut. Okay. Yeah, we don't want to miss the ounce of this. What's that, Baba?
That's the State Department.
Oh, yeah, this is the State Department. Oh, boy, this is the deep speech here. Mr. Farrakhan speaking at the State Department saying what a great guy George Moose is, who helped assassinate them African leaders. He's head of the African section of the State Department. Oh. And he gave praise. He went and spoke there and gave a little praise to him. And, brother, you'll have to quote for me, because I know I can't sort through it now, or highlight the sections that you think of. I see most. The cover is Good Cops, Bad Cops. This is the final call, November 24th, 93. It's a little out of context, but we'll get into that. I need to be able to have a copy of that. You ready? All right. So this issue of Source magazine, now come on, stick with me a little bit. It's a Source magazine, The Thinking of a Master Plan, June of '95. Got it? Okay, now in that story is a quote from the meeting up that night in up in Patricia Harris Center, and it says the following: the media frenzy that followed the wake of the Anti-Defamation League's advertisement in the New York Times, which printed portions of the Kane College lecture, slowed with. Now remember, in that ad they put in the New York Times, Khallid is saying, and he was right too when he came and said, and they deleted my name out of the excerpt. Right. And put Professor Griff's name in, but dotted my name just not to let me get no promo. Going out all over the country saying he was right. So you see, they ain't sleeping in their condemnation. They ain't even letting a word, 2 little words slip in there. Steve Cokely. Again, remember, I'm a non-person, unfit for media. Of course, I was to be isolated and assassinated. That's why I beat so hard on isolation up in D.C., because I can smell a killing when it's coming, and I beat every nigga's ass anywhere near me, look at me, think of me, smell me, thought badly of anyone around me. I just beat them indiscriminately. Because I make them, with the beating on them, go tell the other one, hey, you better lay off of him. Because that nigga hit me hard. And I beat all of them. I tell you, they tried to kill me in Chicago, and I showed you all that film at Bernie Backus. Well, all of them stood up for me, and then they all left me. And they left me to be killed. That's what I said. How the Jews tried to kill Steve Cokely. All them 20 weeks I did on the Jewish people. Take you still killing now. Damn right, Zionist racism, protocols, the ADL, all that crew come out of that. Diamond Jewish people, South Africa. So I smell them when they get. I ain't got no problem about them because they get close enough I can hit them good. New time they be fighting me from way across the bridge and underneath the tunnel, and I got to go down in there and get them. They get on up there right out here in front of us, like this car emerged Sunday in Chicago. It gives us a chance to show the other side of the operation. You don't never want to show the militaristic side of your army unless you got to use it. You don't threaten nobody about death, you kill them. Right. You don't allow nobody to threaten you. You accept the threat as a death attempt and kill them again. And this is hardball. Everybody can't play it, but sometimes the action has to up so you can let the skill out. Right. So in Chicago, we got a little demonstration project going on. We'll talk about that in a second. Oh, come on now, hold on. It's in D.C. too. It's right on the edge of his seat in D.C. just waiting for the first one to show up. Because they over there counseling on, damn, we're going to have to do something. Because you see, with no flyers, more people in here than 2 weeks ago. And see, each week it gets to be more people, and it's going to be more. Brother Derek. If you could, hey, Brother Derek, bring me the calendar. Right out here so we can do that next to last week of July. Saturday we'll be in Baltimore at Sojourner Douglas. For those that'll be up there, we'll be Wednesday in Pittsburgh. We'll be Friday in New Haven, Connecticut. I'm getting into cities I ain't been in. That's growth. When I look up, I know all the cities I've been in and how I keep going into them cities each time them 90 days come, but we even break in most cities. Pittsburgh is controlled by the Carnegie family. And boy, I got some Carnegie shit. I'm going to bust their ass all over Pittsburgh. But I was in Pittsburgh before and spoke at the Nation of Islam. And they have a house there. Is the headquarters in Pittsburgh. You need to come over and let me look at that. Look at the last 2 Tuesdays of July. Tell me the dates, the numbers. So I know I got travel days in there. I got to be careful. Okay. It says here in the story, it says, in fact, Tiombe, if you could get with Brother Derek and look over those last 2 Tuesdays and give me some feedback. The New York Times was printed the portion of the Kane College lecture, Slow with Muhammad's Demotion by Farrakhan, and came to a screeching halt following the assassination attempt on Khallid's life by James Best, a former NOI member at the University of California, Riverside. Khallid was shot in both legs and Best had been beaten severely by the crowd. Subsequently, Muhammad blamed members of the New York Mosque No. 7 for the crime. That story was the Village Voice story that had Khallid on the cover with the Black Panther militia of Dallas standing around him in guns. Right. That story came out, I believe, in the July issue of the Village Voice last year, because we were in June together. I was with Khallid when he shot that picture in Dallas, and when he shot that picture in Dallas, I was standing right on the edge of the squeeze in together now, y'all. And the signal was, if you want to move for Khallid this time, and you're that immature, we will shoot you. That day, it was a friendly meeting. Another one of them Sunday shootings in front of a family. He'd shoot him in front of his son, like Malcolm was shot in front of his family. 25th. 18th, we're 19th in Pittsburgh, so it has to be 18th. I mean 25th. 25th of July. Right back here at the cafe. Tuesday night, 25th of July. We'll be back here. And I'm going to have some equipment in here with me. I've been asking for the things I need, so we got some equipment coming. Anyway, let me move on with this more briskly. However, at the March election meeting held in Washington, D.C., in support of Malik Shabazz, the law student responsible for bringing Khallid to Howard University, despite resistance from the university's administration and the country who insisted Muhammad was a racist, Muhammad publicly accused Abdul Alim Muhammad, the Minister of Health in Washington, D.C., with participating in his assassination attempt. Quote, he wrote me a letter in the month of February comparing me to Malcolm, saying what Malcolm should have done and could have done, and if Malcolm had done it, he would have come out better. And it went on to tell me in a veiled threat, if you don't do this, you must know that history will repeat itself, and underline will in the quotations. And I know that there were only 3 copies of that videotape. The brothers here in Virginia who shot it, Brother Cokely, who they gave a copy to, and the copy I gave to Brother Malik Shabazz. We did not release that to the public. Now, in the meeting in Chicago, people said they saw that tape. I know they didn't see mine. They didn't see theirs. The one who coughed it up was Malik, because him and Alim got in an argument, and Alim tried to punk him down. They almost got into a fight. So Malik wanted to make clear, in a way he does it very often when pressure comes, that Cokely and Khallid took over his meeting. He lost control of it and couldn't control what we said, so it was our problem, not his. And I told him last night at 2 a.m. he was a weasel for doing it. He's supposed to have been here tonight. He did not show. Because I tell them first, July 25th. I told him first, before I ever tell you, I tell the principals what you hear, which is no more than after the fact. And I didn't appreciate that and the weasel attitude he has sometimes when pressure comes, because when Khallid got shot, all the people that made money off of him wasn't nowhere to be found. I begged up on the radio in L.A. for them to buy me a ticket, and I went out there with $30 in my pocket. Left sister with $10, $15 in her pocket, here with the baby, to go out there to try to save that brother's life, and we didn't know how it was going to come down when we got there. But he was hid out up in Connecticut somewhere. Everybody ducking down, hoping they don't get shot. Don't anybody believe God is on their side? How come everybody preach to God, don't ever believe God can get them through a crisis situation? Where are all these believers at when the real shit comes? Yeah. When the action get hot, we're going to learn a lot about what we really got to work with. Anyway, now that statement is important. Now, the day after that meeting at the Pat Harris Center, I told you I got calls from people all over Chicago and the nation asking for that tape. I called them brothers there. We met at Norfolk, Virginia, as I educated Virginia about Norfolk, Virginia, about what had happened, because these are things that are not in the newspapers, and we have to keep ourselves abreast of our own news. And we don't see the media. I didn't know this person was even there. Khallid told me he knew this person was there. I didn't. You see my name ain't in there nowhere, because I'm persona non grata in the media, so you can't even mention me. I ain't got no problem because I don't use the media. I don't have any blanks. I didn't get any blanks. But it'll be available anytime after today. Brother asked about getting tonight's tape available. I didn't get any blanks, and I meant to get some before Kinko closed. Dave, you can't break back in there, can you? It's 10 o'clock. I would have. Anybody interested in tonight's tape?
Yeah.
Okay, well, y'all may be out of luck. Y'all may have to call me up and get it tomorrow. Anyway, let me go through quickly. Now, the important thing to that is that when I read the final call, I talked to Khallid Sunday. We had a lecture Saturday night in Chicago at Reverend Al Sampson's church. You saw him in the story from the Nation of Islam when the minister, when the FBI had revealed about the Qubilah Shabazz thing. I told you all that was all a smoke screen. That was phony because the profile they were given, the FBI gave the nation, was that the suspected killer was a Muslim militant extremist. And Qubilah Shabazz didn't fit that profile, but Dr. Khallid did, and they were using that secret briefing to prevent Khallid from meeting with the minister in Chicago, because though they didn't tell nobody they met with the FBI, they were holding against Khallid this profile of someone who the FBI couldn't name, but knew was out to assassinate Minister Farrakhan. Of course, you eventually saw it was a hunky boy Fitzpatrick and Qubilah Shabazz, who didn't fit the profile. And you also know it sounded a little phony, this getting together up at the Apollo in Harlem, everybody forgiving each other. And Betty Shabazz getting $50,000 from Rock Newman to shut up and quit blaming Farrakhan. And that tape in New York, there's a big discussion about that. The bombing tape I did in New York is up here. It's a 3-tape set. That was the night before they had that meeting in New York. I was up there that Friday. They had the meeting that Saturday. I refused being there, so I wouldn't be a part of that. And that is not to be against individuals, but it don't smell right. And when it don't smell right, I close my eyes and heed the voice you cannot hear. I don't break that. Anyway. Now, in the final call, where that final call at? In the final call, that came up again. Because in the story, dated July 19, 1995, they're the brothers down in Dallas, from the grand jury refused to indict the Muslims. In that story is a comment. And the comment says, on page 3, as an assassination attempt against Minister Khallid was launched by James Best May 23rd, 94 at the University of California, Riverside. Now remember, it was Brother Cokely who exclusively told you, the only one to tell you, that this man, where is he at? Up here, another one of them escaping stories. That this man right here, James Brock, had inadvertently told me he was with Best the weekend before the shooting. That's Brock's picture. And when Brock was supposed to meet me right here in the restaurant to give me the tapes of him and Best together the weekend before Khallid was shot, he didn't show. And I ran into Brock a week ago here in the hotel. He was shivering, trembling. But on that New York tape, you know, I chastised Eric Mohammed for misquestioning Brock when he shows up at the Black Holocaust Council the week before I got there. He misquestioned Brock and said, Cokely said, you was with Best. Cokely said, you was, well, what do you think? He said, what I think about what? What Cokely said. No, you were supposed to ask him, were you or were you not with Brock the weekend before the shooting? Yes or no? Did he or did he not tell you he had an intent to kill Khallid? Yes or no? Did you or did you not make tapes with him that weekend? Yes or no? And then if he said no, you say, Cokely said that you told him on the phone that yes. So Eric may have purposely blown it. I don't care if he did or didn't. He blew it, and I've been busting his ass, refused to speak up there twice since then with him, because I told him he punked on asking appropriately Brock those questions, but then having got back in good with Minister Farrakhan, everybody's other shit get real fuzzy and shit. Right. I have a thing called the zealots in the struggle. Used to be brothers in the struggle. A zealot is a dangerous thing when truth is not the overriding intent. Right. And as many people as want to be zealots for me, I make them smart, self-sufficient, strategic, do the right thing. Anyway, in the story it says, an assassination attempt against Minister Khallid was launched by James Best May 23rd, 94, University of California, Riverside. Mr. Best remains in jail awaiting trial. It's been over a year now. Shooting was May 30th of 94. How many black men stay in jail a year, don't even go to trial? There's a Speedy Trial Act say you're supposed to get your ass in there in 90 days. Boy, you're supposed to be let out.
Right.
It says, but Minister Farrakhan, it says, Best remains in jail awaiting trial, comma, all out of context. But Minister Khallid described as unfair the printing of words he made to a reporter for a popular rap magazine regarding the alleged involvement of Minister Abdul Alim Muhammad, the Nation of Islam's Minister of Health. They're talking about Best is awaiting trial, but Minister Khalid Muhammad called unfair remarks quoting him in Source magazine. Two different sentences slammed into one paragraph. But I know why it's needed. So now on page 30, the story continues. Make note of all the pictures with the minister. He got on sunglasses. National spokesperson for Minister Farrakhan in the assassination attempt. Quote, Khallid said, I told them, magazine editors, it would be unfair to include those words because I knew that in print it wouldn't be dealt with the balance that was dealing in my head. When you go to the door of death and Allah blesses you to escape death, then you follow every lead. I never said that Dr. Alim was involved, but in print it could be interpreted in many different ways. This is Khallid reinterpreting what he said. Now, he got the tape. I got the tape. Yeah, you got the tape because you made my copy for me. 4 people. You didn't give your copy to Mr. Farrakhan, did you? Because then I got to go apologize for the link for kicking your ass last night. You didn't give your tape. I never met the minister. Oh, so that's right. You didn't give it to any other member of the nation. All right, so we can just seal the fact that the minister did. All right, okay. Bear witness.
Ask the right question.
In fact, he has a picture of Wesley Snipes and Hakeem at the minister's restaurant in Chicago with Ben Vereen and some more people. Anyway, Khallid says, I never said that Alim was involved, but in print it could be interpreted in many different ways. We should all, in our own individual way, fall down in prostration to Allah for bringing this day about, Minister Alim told the audience. They brought Khallid out in front of the laborers. Just a little insight. 3 weekends ago, Khallid sat down with Minister Sharif, the captain from here, and sat down with Minister Son Mustafa. Then the next weekend, he sat down with Dr. Alim, Minister Farrakhan, Leonard Farrakhan, the Chief of Staff, Mustafa, his son, Sharif, the captain. Now, only those people in the room will know that was who was in the room. Just like I told you when we said Rockefeller was up there at the meeting with the Boulay, sitting next to Carl Anderson, only those people in the room know that we know who was sitting there because they would have known it for themselves. Point of it is, in that meeting, they kept demanding that Khallid apologize to Alim for what he said. Based on what I was told about what happened at the meeting, when I actually read this line in the story, it contradicts what I was told was said in the meeting. But I told you in the past on 2 different occasions that the Nation of Islam purposely misquoted me in stories to get my name next to something they wanted to say. One was after the assassination attempt on Khallid, and they interviewed me about who was doing it. They took and said Cokely does not look unfavorably upon Minister Farrakhan punishing Khallid, which was a statement I did not make. And I called James Mohammed a liar for stating it, and we ain't got no response. It's been almost a year now because he knows that's true. But there was a need to put my name in a statement that said it was okay to hurt on Khallid, which I would not give such a statement, and does not fit my thinking or my strategy. Anyway, so they just got a statement in here from Alim. Now they got them they bring 700 laborers together to announce that Khallid is going to be reinstated. So they got Alim, Khallid, and everybody on the stage. The only reason for Alim being there is because of the statements made related to up at Patricia Harris Center. Now the night after that meeting, I told you all the people from Chicago called me and asked me for them tapes, so that they could take it to Chicago because the Chief of Staff and the Minister wanted to assess and decide what should be done about such a statement made. And I told each and every person that called me, Why is Minister Farrakhan sending you out here to find some information about what somebody said when he was the one that leaked it in the first place? Check. And I wasn't going to allow him to play dum-dum and act like he was going to sit in deliberation of a leak that he sent out. But then I worked in politics, and I've seen the king and queen of leaking up in them governments in Chicago, so I know how the leak thing works, because I've been leaked myself. Anyway, it says here in the story, I never said that Aline was involved, we should all about individual. We should all, by versus Allah, to bring this day about. Mr. Aline told the audience, when a problem comes about, doesn't the same Islam have the power to help us reconcile? Alluding to the recent meeting between Minister Farrakhan and Betty Shabazz, this is all out of context too, because I already did a whole issue on Betty Shabazz and ministers coming together. It says, widow of Minister Farrakhan, widow Minister Malcolm X, Minister Aline said it was an awesome power of love demonstrated by Minister Farrakhan that could heal wounds. What has happened today is an example of the same awesome power to heal through love. In the 60s, this controversy first presented itself with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his spiritual son student, Minister Malcolm X, said Minister Khallid. Exactly 30 years later, my constant prayer that the Honorable Louis Farrakhan and his son and representative, Minister Khallid, would be able to take the 60s and turn it right side up in the 90s and put a positive period behind the history of Elijah and Malcolm. I feel our prayers have been answered, Minister Khallid said. That's the end of the story. The story seems to have some paragraphs missing in it. Because I know enough about how you write a story that at a point this story is incoherent. It's here, it's there, it's here, it's there, it's there. It's not consistent flow in it. There were more things about what happened there that could have been articulated in a way of communicating this solidarity. Anyway, so I talked to Brother Khallid a Sunday night after we had left Chicago. We had a 7:40 flight out of Chicago Midway on Continental to arrive at Washington National at noon. And that night I was lecturing at Al Sampson's church. We finished the lecture, got home about 1:45, 1 o'clock. We were to leave at 5:45 to go to the airport. A friend of mine at that lecture told me, he said, he had to go, he said, Brother Steve, I got a limousine service. Next time you come to Chicago, let me and my buddies pick you up from the airport. We'll do it for free, etc., etc., etc. Normally my father and mother pick me up, which is something they enjoy doing. Anyway, I said, Baba, actually I need you tonight, this morning, in a few hours, because I'm taking my babies from Chicago back here with me, and I got sisters, 5 of us. We got 8 pieces of luggage. We ain't gonna fit in no cab. So if you got the limo, I could use it, Baba, at 5:45. I said, I hate to put that weight on you so late in the meeting, but would you do it for me? I need you. He said, brother, you got it, hands down. You know I'll do it for you. What time? Here's my number. Either I'll be there or my brother will be. This is Brother Harold. He said, my brother will be there. We'll get you from, I gave him the address, everything. At 5 a.m., I called him up to make sure he's up. I don't be missing no airplanes. And to get us. So at 5 o'clock, he calls me and he says, my cousin is on the way. He should be there about now. I said, Baba, that's early. We don't need to leave till 5:45 a.m. It's dark. It looks in Chicago about just like this, 5 a.m. My mama lives at 60th and Cottage Grove facing Washington Park, which is about a 30-block park that goes in Chicago, 8 blocks long, 8 blocks wide, and from 60th to 47th to 50th. From 60th to 49th Street in Chicago. It's a huge park. We have renamed it Malcolm X Shabazz Park, but of course the Hunkies took the signs down and kept putting Washington Park back up there. The armory that you see in the movie The Spook Who Sat by the Door sits in Washington Park. That armory that they raided and stole from was the armory in Chicago that sits in Washington Park at approximately 54th and Cottage Grove. And of course Sam Greeley lived right down the street on 63rd right off of Cottage Grove, who wrote The Spook Who Sat by the Door, lives right down the street. Anyway, at 5 o'clock, when he tells me his cousin is coming, I go to the window, I look down, there's the long gray limo in front of the building. The brother comes in, buzzes the door. I answer the phone. He says, I'm here. Harold sent me to pick you all up. I said, Baba, your early takeoff time isn't until 5:45. Just at ease. I'll bring the luggage down shortly. We're all getting ready. We're all up there fighting over getting in the bathroom. I had planned on getting in the bathroom before everybody else so I could shower and start taking the luggage down. Because when you got children, you're waking them up after 2-3 hours sleep. You have to carry them sometimes because they don't really wake up. So I get the luggage out the way, come back, get the kids. Just so happened, I turn my back, Yombe jumps in the shower ahead of me. Might have saved my life. About 5:20, I look outside, the limousine is gone. Brother had gone, he went to use the cellular phone in the car and the battery was weak. He couldn't call his brother to tell him that he was on the scene, had made contact with me, and that we would be leaving in about 15-20 minutes. So he drives to the corner, to the payphone at the corner of the gas station. Gets out of his car, uses the payphone on the wall, gas station is all back here. He notices a car with no license plates, black tinted glasses, 1979 Chevy Caprice. And he had noticed the car when he drove up originally. It was sitting about 10 cars down. And my mama's building covers the whole block. So there at this end of the block, the doorway or entranceway is in the middle of the block. So when he drives up at 5, he sees the 4 black men sitting in the car back there. It was dark. He didn't pay much attention. He pulls up, he goes out, makes the call, comes back in the limo. 20 minutes later, he goes to the phone to call, calls his cousin to tell him he's there, and notices that the car drives up in the gas station too. Doesn't get out, don't accost him, don't address him, don't attempt to rob him. He gets back in the car, drives around the block, because it's not a one-way, but the only way you can get back on the front or outside the street is to go around the block, come back up in the front. He notices that the black car follows him all the way back around the corner and pulls up back down at the corner of the street. Now he's sitting there, it's 5:20, 5:25, 5:30. You know, Brother Cokely, Brother Charles will tell you, if I know he come to pick me up, I ain't quick at running right out. Anybody come pick me up, no, I'll be slow in getting outside. You just cannot count on me running right out. You can't count on me running right in. I just be kind of consistently inconsistent. So there's Brother Harold coming in. He's the one who brought me to the University of Minnesota the first time I went up there. He was a student up there. He's now going here to graduate school at Howard. So I did the luggage. I started to go down. I'm last one in the shower. Everybody's just about ready. I go down with the luggage. Limousine driver sitting there shivering. I said, what happened, Baba? He said, look. I walked around to his side of the car, and there was the glass had all been shattered on the limousine. I said, what happened? He said, Baba, there was a car, 4 men back there with no license plates, had an orange tag and a window temporary tag. Brother, they drove up on the car and shot through the windows. Baba, they just missed my head. And he didn't even know who I was. When he saw me, he knew me. Everybody in Chicago knew his face from me being condemned in the public. So he said, oh man, I remember you. He said, I didn't even know where I was coming to pick up, man. He said, but these brothers been out here with me for 40 minutes. Now what happened was, at 5:20, it started getting light outside. And it got so light that they may have thought that when he went to the phone, having seen them twice, that he may have either called the police or called me and told me don't come down. They, noticing that it's getting lighter outside, are getting jumpy because it's easier to see them. 4 black men in baseball caps. Now, in Chicago, in this black neighborhood with Mayor Daley, who has thousands of police out there, 4 black men in the middle of the day in smoke-tinted windows in Chicago with no license plates can count on getting stopped. Let alone you 4 black men at 5 a.m. in the morning with guns in your pocket. Now, when I come down, now I'm worried because coming down the elevator is Yombe, my Nakia, Steve Jr., and my mama to kiss us off into the limo to go on to the airport. I look down, the brother's so shaken. He's sitting in the car with the glass all over him, glass underneath him. He's too shocked to even get the glass out the car. And I'm telling him, come on, brother, we got to cover this glass up. My mama coming down. My mama's birthday is Saturday. She'll be 68. My dad's birthday was last Saturday. He was 70. And they have always been worried about their son. And I've always never absorbed that level of, I tell you, I'm more scared about missing rent than somebody coming up trying to shoot me. Some real tension is making rent. Fuck a gun. We have all that material manifest shit we already got. We ain't got to go buy none of that. But rent, that's hard work. So when somebody didn't shoot nothing, shit, we got to get to the airport. My mama comes down. My mama comes down. Sister sees the car. The kids get in and notice that the windows all shot out. And my mama doesn't see it. And she kisses everybody off, goes on upstairs. We go on to the airport because we had to buy tickets for the littlest children, so we had to keep physically moving, and there was no need to keep standing out the building. We didn't know if they were coming back or what was happening. He come up with a pretty good description of the car. On Monday, I did the main radio station in Chicago with Cliff Kelly. We had delayed that from Friday. I got canceled and put over till Monday, and it was just as well. On Monday, I'll break down what happened on Sunday, and we start this full court press. I announced in the public that we are going to find that car. We're going to show the community how it is we catch. Now, last time I was at my mom's, time before last, Brother Kelly, who drove us in from Ohio there, had his car stolen out front of my mom's. This car used to drive us all into Ohio. We go to Cincinnati, Dayton, Columbus. He would drive us from here to Chicago. Instead of us flying in, Brother Kelly would drive out of Cincinnati, pick us up. He's a brother who used to be in the Nation too in Cincinnati. He'd pick us up, drive us back and forth through West Virginia and on up. So we used to make this run more often when we had Brother Station Wagon. They stole the car out front of my mom's. We knew they was on us then. We found that car about a week later. And my friends, I got friends in the police department, the district commander. Oh, when the police show up, the brother runs out in the street, the flag down, the police there, they're almost instantaneous. They drive up to the car. They tell him, say, well, man, this happens all the time. This ain't no big deal in this neighborhood. He said, man, they almost shot me in the head. He said, what do you want me to do? Go out here and stop every 79 Caprice out here? I said, well, look, Bob, it's 5:20 in the morning. It ain't 10 cars on the street, period, let alone one without license plates. And a 79 Capri, which is not an ordinary vehicle running around. I want you all to go out here today and count how many 79 Caprices you run into and tell me how many years it takes you to see one. So the police insist upon the fact that they're going to do nothing and tell the brother he needs to just drop it. Now, the next day, the brother from the limousine company went to the district commander, who we know. I done made police in that town. When Harold Washington was mayor, when Sawyer was mayor, every time your mayor come in, he reappoints all the district commanders, reappoints the watch commanders, remakes the sergeants. And you ever know about running town? That's why we so pissed at these niggas here who be up here trying to run a town, don't know how to run a town for black people. Ain't nobody gonna go to jail if you running the police. They don't close no fire department in your neighborhood when you won the election. You don't cut no jobs when it's your city. Hey man, you don't cut off no liberation parade. You after liberation parade. Taking every hand in the joint. You on the weekends in the street giving out t-shirts with your name on it. You out here fixing the potholes to show the people. You don't see none of these niggas. I ain't never seen them shepherd y'all like I know, like Harold Washington shepherd his flock. I mean, there's such a big gap in how they tend to the people how we hurt. And that's what I tell you about DC. Y'all ain't never used my skills that I have, which has hurt me because you let some things happen to you that I could have helped you with that I don't feel I have the right to do. I told you past that, but I was past waiting on you now. I was going to come out and do it because if I wait any longer, they're going to be at the door busting in on my family because we gave a signal we didn't care enough. So, anyway, the district commander, my buddy called me yesterday and told me that the district commander has suspended the policemen, the two policemen that showed up. They've been suspended for 30 days for not filing a report on an attempted murder. I ain't into police reports. I ain't into calling the news media. I ain't into telling nobody shit. It's a black thing. We can handle it. And to have gotten 4 young men, as hard as I work for young brothers, to have gotten 4 young men and convinced them that Brother Cokely dead was in their interest, had to be for money. So I had announced in Chicago, from my bus drivers, from my mailmen, from my streetcar, train drivers, everybody was going to get together and find that car. They're hunting that car down now. That car moved anywhere in the city of Chicago, we're going to get it. And we're going to grab them ones that were in it and make them tell who sent them. Because we know on their own ain't enough against Brother Cokely for 4 young black men to come and want to shoot at him, his mother, his woman, his babies. What my babies sit up and think about, they going to get in the car with a shout out, what's up, Daddy? They had to sit through me being fired. And all other ridicule and embarrassment we went through in Chicago when we was attacked and isolated and left out there. They had their house burned down. And everybody said, well, did the house get burned down? As we said, we don't know. I saw the house getting burned down because the house next door got burned. It burned up their house. But all their shit got burned out. Anyway, and so as a result of that, we heightened the alert on all levels in every city. I have convened all of the brothers by phone in the last couple of days. In fact, they met last night, 50 men met last night in Chicago to prepare for my return, because we're going to have one hell of a return to show that you cannot scare our community. See, terrorist act is done to quell the onslaught of the masses. The individual is chosen for their symbolism to the mass. Right. So you're going to hit Khallid because he's on the point. You're going to hit Malcolm because he's on the point. You're going to attack these people for being on the piercing element. The whole, don't nobody want to be like that. Yeah, did you see Cokely in D.C. a couple weeks ago? Yeah, you could tell there's going to be some shooting. I told you I could smell them. I could smell them. And I smelled them before when they come to my doorstep. Now, I tell you how CIA work. CIA work, you build, but before you kill, you build. So you build or reintegrate on one level while you're destroying on another. The people get caught into the rebuilding and lose sight of the destruction. And I know exactly what tension is in the lecture that I put on black people, Hebrew Israelites, Nation of Islam, them pop-up Negro politicians, and all them other names, Kathy Hughes. I put those names of those people in those tapes. And I don't know who it is, because when we catch them, we're going to find out. But I say to all those I be having tension with, that when the slugging come, I start slugging in every direction. I don't try to discriminate, because you'll help me find out when you get hit. You said, well, it wasn't me. I know who it was, though. That's how the white man do us when he catches. We tell on somebody else, but we are getting hurt.
Right. That's right.
And if you had heard that radio show in Chicago Monday, and then people pledging their lives to do what has to be done, again, I have never asked you to do or follow me anywhere. But I knew when I started to amalgamate you, because everybody, and them people know who watch me, know me in all those cities, know I have influence in people that I have never directed towards anything other than to know. But if we ever form 25 people in 25 cities, right there, we're as big as damn near everything in the country except one. 25 people in 25 cities is as big as everything except one. And that ain't nothing but a call. Hey, y'all, let's bring it together. So the ante has been up. Tension is much higher, but it's only a part of what has to go down. And when I talked to Khallid, after I called him to tell him what had happened in Chicago, and he then told me about what was happening in Chicago in the meeting, and that he still felt somewhat uncomfortable about the way the story ran, and he felt uncomfortable about the plastic attitude about the remarriage of him back into the nation. And he said, the headline says I've been reappointed to my old position, but in reality I am not national spokesperson in charge of all key ministers like I was. I have been reassigned to some undisclosed position, yet that have been revealed to him. So he's still tense. And I asked him to call you brothers who had assembled to develop these alternative power structures so we could do what needed to be done to advance Brother Khalid's thinking by building forces in these places. And you can confuse your flock when you're repudiating something one day and then you be with it the next. Now, at the Slave Theater, December 14th, 94, Khallid got up there and refused to get baited in that big old coming together. I played for you all that tape. I know what's in that tape. I know, Brother Charles, you got it. It's in that tape on the counterinsurgency in and now. I'm playing that tape where Khallid refuses to be baited into this attack on Minister Farrakhan on December 14, 1994 Slave Theater, and rescinds when 2,000 people just wait for him to say something bad against them, having been baited into saying it. And it was Pat Newton, Dr. Clark, Barry Shango from here in Silver Spring, Al Sharpton, Alton Maddox. There were 10, Conrad Mohammed, Eric Muhammad, all these speakers saying, cut it out, nation in New York. We got to get together. So Nation was coming out and say, we're straight. We're all together now on this. But right before Khallid spoke, they kind of baited him a little bit. Khallid didn't fall for the bait. December 14th. Check the date. The FBI announces that Qubilah Shabazz is the so-called Muslim militant extremist. After Khallid didn't bite the bait in attacking the minister, the FBI finally revealed to the nation the person they wouldn't tell them was Qubilah Shabazz. And I went, Qubilah Shabazz, that ain't no real threat. But the threat indicators were Muslim militant extremist / like a Khallid Muhammad. And I scolded the nation for meeting secretly with the FBI. FBI come meet with you, you declare it in the public. Because if you had her then, we could have cleaned that up and let you know that was a false profile. But that tension went on, and Khallid didn't meet with them. And I know the minister got the analysis about the Qubilah Shabazz thing, because Eric Muhammad admitted to me he wrote it up for the minister and sent it to him, Cokely's theory on the FBI briefing and the failure to meet with Khallid Muhammad. People get hooked up, they take it upon themselves to write things they hear and they see. They become the eyes and the ears. So I load them up. I'll fix them up real good. You take this back. And Cokely's theories are pretty sound. And even though people don't stand with Cokely, many people sit and listen to Cokely for their insights deep within the lines, even in his bitterness and antagonism towards those who at different times are with the enemy. And this is not, I don't mean to want to put the nation down. I wish success in the Million Man March. I'm a supporter of it. I don't mean to put the minister down. I have loved him for many years. I just expect more from him, because I know him that well. I showed you all up there at Bernie Bacchus, him hugging me, standing up and defending me. What did Steve do? How dare you accuse him of racism with the blood of our people on your fingertips? And the audience go, "Arr!" And then they announced that he's going to put up money to protect Cokely and his family, and it never materialized. And I showed that at this moment in time for a very important reason. I waited 7 years to show it to you. And it ain't been no big deal. It's just people never understood the relationship. So sometimes when I talk, you say, boy, you always condemning them and that. I said, again, I built the house they're living in. And when I go to speak, and this brother sees me, when the minister, him and y'all went to see the minister at the Bird Gym, when Malik had him at the Bird Gym, well, I'm standing in the hallway selling tapes. This brother walks past me. He's in the Nation in Richmond, Virginia. He sees he buys some tapes on the Boule, invites me down. He's in the Nation. I go down there and speak and get on the minister for meeting with them rabbis, and he gets kicked out the Nation, saying, you don't do no Cokely, you do Farrakhan. And he got kicked out. This is one of the most outstanding research men in the country. And he has to suffer for coming out of the Nation, for brother coming and telling what everybody now has admitted was a mistake. You can't meet with the hunky, because the hunky don't change. And having suspended Khallid, it was understood it was a mistake. Having met with the rabbis and bit the booty, it was a mistake. Having played the violin and held the white woman's hand, it was a mistake. Right. So don't wait 2 years from now to hear what Cokely said today is a mistake. Right. And so people are agreeing to respond sooner. But there's embarrassment sometimes when there's criticism. And people don't believe they can hold their members together when they're less than straight. And I said in that counterinsurgency tape, the immaturity of the nation escalated when Eric Muhammad is in the Village Voice and Conrad Muhammad is in the New Yorker arguing over Nation of Islam business in 2 enemy magazines. That's immaturity. And so that's why we policed it out. And even when Eric met with the minister, he said, man, I listen to Steve 3 times a week. He looked on the table, had all my tapes. Every time I lecture, y'all send it to him. I don't mean y'all do, but everywhere I go, people think they telling on me, send it to him. He said, Steve is the hardcore. I understand he's against the hunky, and any of us who get near him, that white man Steve will beat us for that, and we know that to be Steve, and we accept it for that. Because he is the way he was, the way he been, with it or without it. It ain't never changed. And people are coming to better respect it because of the genuine nature. It could be wrong. I could say something that could end up wrong or misappropriation. I always stand to be accused. I'm out in the public and accessible. I talk so long it don't never be no question and answers, but you understand I'm available. Before we close, I'm going to pass the hat for myself and my family. I don't, here you go, sister. This is my daughter, Natia. There's nothing in there. I appreciate and want your support. You can start on this side, sister, and work across. I appreciate and want your support. This is the letter that the brother sent me from New Orleans that we went on the sister, you got to take your time. And don't look down in it, just move it around. You want me to do it, I do it. You want me to do it? I noticed that when I passed the hat, I passed that hat on Saturday over at Bernie Baptist. People had the ones in their hand. They see me coming and put the fives in their hand. When I passed, people put more in it. Now, do I have to pass the hat, or will you just do what I got coming? Because my daughter come, you don't need me to do it. Tell me you don't need me to do it. Tell me now. Do you need me to do it? Now, see, sometimes people want me to see. Sometimes when the hat passes, and let me know that I want to tell you how people are, because I learn about people. Sometimes when the hat passes, and the person will not know, I will not know that the person made a $20 or $50 donation. After the donation hat passes, they'll come up and put it in my hand so that I know what they did. And sometimes there's nothing wrong. I appreciate that, and I appreciate knowing who want to help. And I appreciate the help. Is it all right if sister come around while I read you this letter, or do I need to come around?
Read it as a responsibility.
Huh? What y'all want me to do now? Y'all ain't telling me nothing. Y'all got the two hands, one going. Okay, all right. Thank you. This is the story that Brother Taraka wrote me after our meeting together in New Orleans. He says, I don't like the way the damn picture's printed, but I'm sending it anyhow. Baba, we would like to give praise to you, or give praise to the Creator for allowing Brother Baba WC for bringing you to us. We thank you for sharing so much knowledge with us. For me, personally, you touched Afrocentric consciousness, but both my spiritual level and knowledge level were elevated. Brother, in teaching our young black males, that was just the energy I needed. It was like getting a charge to keep on going. Asante Santa. Ache it tutu. Continue to make it happen through the mystic coolness of God. Hotep, Elder Taraka. And people write from all over the country people write from all over the country to share the information. This is Sister Karen. Many of you all have seen her here with us, and you never know who got the skills to do certain things or who's willing to do it. And Marilyn gets taught, Karen gets taught a lot from Sister Marilyn. Sister Marilyn lives in New York, and I think she kind of helps bring Karen along, and they kind of get together and do stuff. They come up with posters and pictures and all kind of ideas. So I get a call when we're in Chicago on my answer line that they're up in New York going to the CFR headquarters, going to the Trilateral headquarters and stuff. And you all saw on that CBS piece the door of the Trilateral, and I told you we went up there and couldn't get out through the lobby. They stopped us because the ADL is in there. Trilateral Commission is on 711. ADL is up in there, and so they stopped the black males in the lobby. So Sister could tell us a little bit about what happened and some of the things she found and got. And you don't mind telling us a few of them things, do you, Sister Karen?
No, I don't mind.
All right, you got to talk loud.
Okay, on Friday afternoon, we went to the Council on Foreign Relations on East 68th Street, and we noticed that around the area, there's no sign that indicates that it's the Council on Foreign Relations. It's just
Talk a little loud.
You can't really tell. And just around the corner, they have the Council of Americas, and they had a label that says Council of Americas. Next to that is the Spanish Institute. But we noticed that around the corner, they had numbers like 666 and 66.
Right, all around that building, that big building up there got the 666 on it.
All around there.
Yeah.
And we went in the afternoon, and we walked around the corner, and then we heard a fire truck going by, and the fire truck was going right in front of the Council on Foreign Relations, so we ran back around the corner, and the fire, they stopped right in front of the Council on Foreign Relations, and they got out, and we asked what was going on, and they said there was a problem with gas, something about gas, but they wouldn't tell us any information. If they didn't go inside anywhere, they were just on, right outside. They never went inside any building. So when we went back to the subway, the New York subway, all the streets were blocked. So we heard on the news later that 1,500 people were hospitalized because of the gas, problem with gas in the subway.
That's right, because that gas problem went off in that New York subway. I think it was that the day they had the flood down there and stuff?
No, that's the next day.
The next day,
they had the flood. So we didn't have our camera with us, so we decided to go back to the Council on Foreign Relations to take pictures. And it looks really dark and sinister. The building is really sinister. I have one picture of that. A lot of the pictures don't come out. And then there was a meeting up there, right in front of the Council on Foreign Relations. There was a meeting. You could see all the white people, the white boys had their call girls up there. And you could see everything. So we took pictures of that. Now, Maryland took pictures. And then with the Friday afternoon, we did go to the Trilateral Commission, and they didn't let us upstairs. We only got to the lobby, and we noticed that there was an ADL, and then they have Chase Manhattan, Rockefeller, and the Trilateral is all in one spot. But they didn't let us upstairs, but we did. They had a poster with all the foundations, the names of all the foundations, and right down the street is the United Nations. So it's all, all together.
And what you got on the pictures? What pictures did come out?
The Council on Foreign Relations.
Yeah, the Council of the Americas is like what they got down here, the Organization of American States. The Council of the Americas, which Rockefeller created the Organization of American States, which is like the United Nations for the Caribbean and South America. When Aristide got overthrown, he went to the Organization of American States and asked to be reinstated. Of course, Rockefeller's the chairman emeritus of us because he created it. He created the UN. He created it. Bought the land, built the building, went and got the people to sign the treaty. First thing they did was make the state of Israel. So you just kind of get the connection there. And the black man came to the white man's rescue, Ralph Bunche.
Yeah.
What is this here? 6-6 on the...
That's the bus stop near the CFR.
Okay, what's this picture of? That's the back of the CFR or the front? Okay. And this is the Council of the Americas. What else you got down there?
And right down the street they have the Columbus Club.
The Columbus Club, is that Columbus's picture there? They got a Columbus Circle up there in New York too, big time Columbus Circle. Members only, sure you're right. Okay, we'll set these up front for those of you who want to look at them. Karen, next time we want y'all to get some better pictures.
Yeah, well, she took pictures too, and a lot of money didn't come out.
Yeah, she did tell me, she called on the phone and said she's getting them taken care of so that we will get to see some of them soon.
She has.
Anybody got any questions before we break?
Yeah.
Yes, Brother Jabari.
UN has a
50th anniversary of the UN, yeah.
Is it just a coincidence that they had it in Frisco where they had it at the same time the church is?
Frisco is where they signed the treaty to create the United Nations. And I was just up there 3-4 weeks ago, and they were having big anti-terrorism summits up there, figuring out how to prevent bombings and other things, since the rich feel that the G7 meetings, IMF meetings, Trilateral, etc., would be targeted by the militias. They had big anti-terrorism summit up there where the mayor announced he would abridge anybody's rights as necessary to protect what is a whole summer long full of events in San Francisco to give honor to the United Nations Treaty, which was signed in San Francisco, though housed in New York. And why they met there might have something to do with all those other countries coming across the sea from the other side of the globe, which was easier coming into San Francisco than to New York. Yes, Bob.
Yeah, I just want to just ask a general question around it. Does anybody have any ideas for young black males who basically sick and tired of just slaving for the system, getting nowhere, and ready to put their full attention to the mission, into the revolution and so forth?
Yeah, there's some ideas. You could have a clipping service. You could clip key articles out of the newspapers, get newspapers from different cities, and make yourself available for anyone who needs them. Sell the clips for 25 or 30 cents a clip. Get you a couple of clients. You look up, you got $50, $60, $70 a week. Those clients will impress other clients. Once you get one client for one set of information, copying it 20 times and giving it to 20 different clients for the same money, not the same money, but 20 different sets of money will only help your little clipping business grow. Anybody know of a black clipping service?
Yeah.
No.
They have them because I know a different organization subscribe to them.
Yeah, it wasn't Clifton Service, it was out the school. He had his own paper. He was going on donations by people giving dollars and quarters and stuff. He used that, to make a copy.
Very good. Let me share with you this story. I almost forgot this one. This is a strange story, and like before I said it smells. This story appeared first on the front page of the News Dimension. And the story was what I call a fake story, which was Kuntzler, William Kuntzler, coming out and saying Farrakhan cleared in death of Malcolm X. This is News Dimensions, Friday, June 16th, 95. The story smells. I smelled it then because being one who's watching carefully all the things related to it, his absolvement of Farrakhan it was not a relay of the facts, then an absolvement. It was a one-sided look at a few things and a total absolution of all things, which is not appropriate computation. It's like 3 times 3 divided by 9, and someone sitting up here telling you what the answer is. You say, well, let me see your formula. And they say, well, I don't know how I come to the answer.
Right.
You say, well, how can I make valid agreement with your conclusion if I can't see your process by which you came to that conclusion? I told you we're a community without computation.
Right.
Now, this story I intriguingly read was interesting, and the story was almost rehashed because Don Mohammed, who did the story, who's here in D.C., is redoing the story here in the final call. You familiar with the story? Right. And the story intrigues me because I know how bad the story smells, like they needed the story real bad. I'm going to repeat it. The story smells like they needed the story. In one issue, you cleaned up Khallid, you cleaned up Malcolm. The issue before, you cleaned up Betty Shabazz. It's almost as if we got to hurry up and do this before October.
Right. That's right. Well.
Now, these are the key points I want you to pay attention to. Final call. I want to speak to you about the research on the assassination of Malcolm X that you've been talking about during brief remarks at the Apollo Theater. Please elaborate a bit on some of the things you discovered. Kuntzler, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad retained me to open up the case of the 2 defendants who were not guilty, Thomas 15X Johnson and Norman 3X Butler. Thomas Hare, who was found guilty, told me the entire story. Now, everything he bases his conclusion on is on the premise that Thomas Hare, a known liar, murderer, told him the whole story, a white man, and the white man, the only white man in America to totally believe a black man, he never knew, is the absolving conclusion of everybody is based on what Thomas Hare told him. And he says this. He said, told me the entire story of who was there and how many were there and how it was all arranged. And it had nothing to do with Minister Farrakhan. It was the kind of thing that could have happened in any mosque. The hatred was so intense, you didn't need anyone to plan it. Now we got a major assassination that was operating on remote control. You didn't need no one to plan it. They hated Malcolm so bad. Remember now, the lesson is that the State Department stopped Malcolm from landing in France. Malcolm would have been in France at the time of the assassination, except for Carl Rowan's punk ass and the State Department, State Department, Dean Russ, Rockefeller Foundation President, Rhodes Scholar, Dean Russ, didn't let Malcolm land in France, so he had to rush back to New York. When he landed in New York, he was killed 6 days later. House was burned the first night after he got home. He spoke in Detroit the next night, the speech that Spike Lee inadvertently called incoherent, when Malcolm said that we're fighting one huge complex or combine. It's not a New York power structure or a D.C. power structure, but an international white power structure. It was very coherent. Right. He absolved all the Negroes of the thing and went to the world thing and said, right, this is fucking Trilateral Commission, though it wasn't created until 9 years later. Wow. Anyway, and of course we know Malcolm caused the Big Six, which of course we now know is the bootleg. Right. So then goes on to say, he organized the assassination. He said the hatred was so intense that you didn't need anyone to plan it. But Hayes said that he planned the whole thing. He brought the guns. He made the smoke bombs. He organized the assassination. They then went there the night before to case the place. It was a dance ballroom, and they came back the next day early. 3 got into the front, 2 in the back. As soon as Malcolm came out and gave the salam welcome, the ones in the front ran to the rostrum, while in the back someone screamed, "Nigga, get your hands out of my pocket." Then threw the smoke bomb. Then the first guy with a 45, I think it was Hare, didn't Hare tell you? Pumped it into Malcolm, who fell to the floor backwards. Then the other 2, one had a shotgun, one had a Luger, emptied their guns. He was dead when he hit the floor. And then the idea was to run. While everybody was screaming, the smoke was all over the place, they had a blue Cadillac which was waiting on Broadway. They were supposed to get in the Cadillac, then cross the bridge to George Washington to Patterson, New Jersey, where they all came from. Meanwhile, Hare was shot by a guy named Reuben Francis, who was one of Malcolm's bodyguards. Hare was shot in the thigh and then staggered onto the street where they were going to kill him, except for a police car sort of miraculously came there, and a sergeant, and then picked Hare up and drove him not to the hospital across the street, but instead drove him all the way north to the end of Manhattan to a hospital many miles away from the scene. I never knew why they did that. But then if Hare planned it all, did Hare plan for the police to be absent from out front?
Right.
For 2 policemen to sit upstairs and wait while all those policemen who were out front when they went in disappeared? Right. Did Hare plan that? Kuntzler ass fake out? Did Hare plan the paper changes, the fact that these many people were caught, and then they redid a later edition saying only he was caught? Did Hare plan that? Like Oswald did the cover-up dead? Did Hare do the cover-up from jail? It smells. Besides, Kuntzler wasn't investigating it, so he can't call it off. So I announce to those who think that this piece of shit is going to call off the hunt to avenge the death of Malcolm, you sleeping on no-dos. It ain't that easy. This is reality. This is not fantasy.
Right. Yeah.
Then goes on to say how he talked with Benjamin Goodman at Mosque number 7, and he would have seen anybody from Mosque number 7, which is where Yusef Shaw was at. Now, y'all remember, I broke down in that book Spike Lee wrote on the Malcolm X movie, how Yusef Shaw said, who Spike Lee did Minister Farrakhan tell you shot Malcolm? He said, Minister Farrakhan said the Zealots did it. Go back to the Tony Brown Journal where he interviewed Hare 3-4 years 10 years ago or whatever, the first interview of Hare, and look who was on there calling themselves a zealot. Such that all them years later, when they said the zealots did it, you went back in the file, put the zealot file out, and saw all the people who claimed to be a zealot. Now, as they closely approached Minister Farrakhan over the assassination, he did what the CIA does call a limited fallout. When I know you're going to catch the whole thing, I throw you half of the thing, hoping you go away. Oh, no, I didn't kill him, but I did help set the climate that made killing him possible. And I told you, it ain't no sex without foreplay. So if they ain't doing no kissing and rubbing, then there ain't gonna be no sex. So if kissing and rubbing don't come first, sex don't follow. Sex don't come in the dry. And that's why when that Aline name came out as we were walking up the tree, I smelled an old strategy from an old fish I knew too well. And threw that fish back. I threw it back on experience. Yeah, you could not fool Brother Cokely with the CIA limited fallout. So we kept the ante up. And Khallid bit the thing, but then it got him back in the organization, and if that's what he wants, then that's what he got. Anyway, I ain't gonna hold y'all. Y'all need to look deep into this story, because the story is phony than baloney. I'm trying to read the Kuntzler now, and then Kuntzler says the interesting thing in the back of the story is this key thing. Now comes the question that Jack Kondo brought up, that Minister Farrakhan had drove from Boston at 1:12 a.m. the night before the killing, drove all day, and was in the mosque in Newark the day of the shooting. Of course, the killers came out of Newark into New York, which is why they were going back to Patterson, New Jersey after the shooting. So in it, since he know he got that out there, how you going to straighten that up? He says this outrageous thing, which shows you how fragile the dialogue is. Let me know to this stinky story. He says this. He says, oh yeah. He says, I was talking about the FBI involved and the FBI this and that. Okay, fine. He says, I'm utterly convinced that Louis Farrakhan didn't have a damn thing to do with the murder. He says he was in Newark Mosque that Sunday. I don't know whether he was or wasn't, but I don't think he had the slightest clue because Hare had been very open to me.
He just said Farrakhan said he was there.
Thank you. And he says, I don't know if he was there or not. But I know what Hare told. He now got someone telling him he was there, and he's absolving him of even being there. Anyway, I think that's enough for tonight. I'll see you all on July 25th.
Hey.
Yes. That's Steve. Yes, sir.
You mentioned one thing earlier about Brother Hebrew, though.
Oh, yes. Interesting about Hebrew. I get a call from KJLH in Los Angeles saying, I received a press release about your assassination attempt. It's running on the radio in LA. I said, what? He said, yeah, I got a fax from a Hebrew. And I made Hebrew come by my house this morning at 5 a.m. to bring me this fax. He sent out a fax telling to the news media, telling them to call him for background on the assassination attempt of Cokely and gives a false description of the car. And I told him, sister heard me at 2 a.m. this morning kicking his ass through the telephone. I have Malik on one line and Hebrew on the other, and I'm swinging off these brothers. You don't see either of them here tonight. Because I'm smoking deep heat on them. Yes, sister. Right, to keep you away from here. He's like parents to the movies. Assassination attempt of Brother Cokely, press release. I don't write press releases to nobody because I ain't into the press. I hear he sent one to UDC. The WUDC called me today saying that the fax got boxed that Hebrew sent, but I resend it. I said, thank God it didn't get there. It didn't have no business there. He faxed one to y'all?
Yeah, that's why I'm here.
Ain't that something? Now he gets the fax.
Who are you?
I'm publishing this.
Oh, okay.
And so the question came up, why was Hebrew sending this out? And sending out the fact that the card says at 7 p.m. an emergency press conference and update will be held at the Howard Inn Cafe. For more information, please call Hebrew Ben Israel, Q-Force 301-587-9579, and sent it from his job at IBM, which is on the front. And I made that nigga get. And look, he was so scared when he rings my door at 5:50 this morning. Instead of waiting for me to answer the door, he drops the shit on the door, such that when I open the door, this nigga running down the hall to the elevator, and I didn't have my clothes, but nigga, I'd chase you. With this bullshit. Now again, and then look what he does. He said, to punish yourself, I said, Sister Nomi, last night I told him on the phone, tell me, brother, what is your punishment? Now, this is my life on the line. You out here bullshitting, setting yourself up with some dummy information. Tell me, brother, I'm compassionate, brother. Tell me, brother, what your punishment is. Well, brother, I don't deserve no punishment. I was good. I said, brother, get your motherfucking ass over here now. Tell me your punishment. I said, brother, you done called the Jewish Student Association on me and sicked them on me in Maryland. You done done everything under the sun, and then you do half good, half bad. Tonight, Baba, what is your punishment? Baba, I don't deserve no punishment. I was trying to do good. So then he says it and he marks a D+ on there for himself, saying I was bad and I got a D+ for this. My teacher, I deserve a D+. I said, no, you got an F-, brother, man. Don't come nowhere near me. So as you see, he ain't here tonight, and that's how that happened. And that was all because I ain't into the press, and that's just the way it went. Oh no, I ain't got no problem about it. You hear, the truth is the truth. It's bear out on its own. And when we catch it, everybody's going to see the torture of those we catch. It's coming. Because See, again, I told you all earlier with that Armstrong Williams, and then maybe you can even tell us why you let them buy in on the page.
Well, it's money. It's
Yeah, but see, it can't be that way, though.
I'm here to learn. I'm here.
All right, I accept that. That's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
Watch what I do.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. Because my thing is this. I've been offered a lot of money from a lot of people, and I'm poor now because I wouldn't take it. I've been offered $100,000 to shut up. I know that would have killed me. I believe we got this divine thing we hold on to, and if we be full butt naked and in the street homeless, we still got the right to slay this beast. This is our right.
Yeah,
we incarnate for that right. I've suffered for the right to keep that option open. That's the only option I got.
Right.
Is that I don't drive, I don't have a car, I don't have a house, I don't have 4 changes of clothes, I got 2 pairs of shoes. I mean, really, that's our only shot. And if my shot is our shot. Because as I look around, everybody ain't saving for that rainy day.
Yeah.
And I went back through you all when we were at Bernie Backus, all those things we talked about and strategies we threw in the public. And they're rare because I felt that nobody really wanted to whip the white man, that most of our thing was comfort under the white man. Yeah. And so I beg upon the community, and I can accept in principle that dialogue. I'll never offend you because of your approach to response to it. And I'm a fair brother, and I'm opinionated. I'm hard about it, and my life sacrifice is the pressure that I put on those around me. Is that I suffered first, and I've asked others to stand in lieu of that, but I've never asked you to do more than I've done for myself, to myself. And that's all the bind and the bond we have with each other is our principles. And that thing I learned about the trilateral, when I read them deep, was they said the only thing we're afraid of are people with a value system. And that taught me, I read all between them lines. We talked about that. That just shook me up, that if only true people arose, I said 100 virgins with 1,000 whores. They didn't even have to know everything. Shit would open up for them if they were clean enough for it too. And that's the way it works. So I appreciate all of you all for coming. I see you on July 25th, if you're willing. Again, it probably ain't going to be no flyer out there. See, in Chicago, I told you I wanted to make sure I did this every other Tuesday. In Chicago, everybody knew it Tuesday to be at Lou Palmer's place, because I would be there. They didn't even need to know the title. You better believe whatever it is, it's our breaking news. And that's the way it goes. I appreciate you all for coming. And any of those, again, anybody want to sign up for Grassroots 2000, that this is the first time, put your name and phone number down. And for those who want to buy tapes, I'll be over at the table. Again, I want to thank Brother Derek for hosting us here. I'm overtime. I promised to be through at 9:30. I lied. It's 11:10. But I want you all, hold it now, stop. Now, I want you all to at least give this brother some appreciation. He accepts a token from me to use his place, far less than what he accepts. He sits overtime with us. He sometimes doesn't even make the food to make extra money, and he sits. And all the time, I had no place to go. This is the only brother that would open up his place to let me come in. So I want to thank him. And Brother Bruce opened up Nation House for us, too. So I want to thank the brother for having had it. Saturday where? Saturday, Baltimore, Sojourner Douglas, I believe, say at 6 o'clock. I think the nation, the minister of Baltimore will speak 20 minutes before me. I'll probably be on 7.
I'm not.
And it's at Sojourner Douglas in that big room on the 4th floor. Saturday, with the brother Lyle Lex is the host.
And I mean, good job, ASAP.
Oh yeah, what is the thing? I got which one? Oh yeah, right on right. Oh great. That's the fastest Bilderberg. Look at this white woman speaking against the Bilderberger group, saying that the global plantation will fail. Thatcher, who was shot, who warned Reagan when he was shot, says the Bilderberger trashes the Bilderberger and says the global plantation is dead. That's just how like that was, but I can't afford it.